Good evening, lamb chops. It is I, your favorite fluffy vampire, Bluma. Yo, we are so close to finishing this book. Like, oh my goodness. Because, like, the last one had 12 chapters, and we're going to be starting chapter 10, I'm pretty sure. Oops, wait. Solid start. You know, we love it here. Hold up. I exited out because it's like, I know that it was just going to be like, there's so much you have to click through before it lets you go back to the menu or anything like that. My bad. It's okay, though. Continue. Oh my god, yeah. Chapter 9, we done. So this is going to be chapter 10 we're starting. The last one had 12 chapters. So, you know, we must be close. Watch, this one has 20 and it's just gaslighting me. Yeah, I guess we'll just get right into it, yeah? Yeah. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number in my school's contact list. Oh, right, because, like, Shion was all like, yeah, the mayor's missing because I told him what we did. And I was like, damn, that would suck. Why would you tell somebody that? And then, oh, shit, I told Rika. So, there it is. My fingers tremble with urgency. I failed multiple times to pick up the simple 5-digit number. Keiichi, are you calling someone at this hour? It's late, and it's being rude to the other person. That doesn't matter right now. I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up. Come on, pick up. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? Her phone would be ringing constantly, though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far from the phone. The sound of the phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. And if that was the case, even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick it up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possibly she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes and then try calling again. I love the copium we are huffing right now. Delicious. Delicious. I don't know. To me, I would be less worried about Rika-chan. One, because it's Rika-chan. Two, she lives with Satoko, right? I guess that's even more alarming. What would they do? I guess what would Satoko do? But at least buddy system, you know? Even after I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over. Again and again. I kept calling her, but she didn't pick up. Not even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes, yet she wasn't picking up. Were my phone calls so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver? Oh yeah, this is in the 80s. I don't think caller ID was a thing yet. No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be go in there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit, I've never even asked where she lived. Her residence was written there on the contact list, but the address was mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around in the drawer with my phone book, but I could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit! I tore one thing out from after another of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know. That's it. Reina's gonna know. I looked up Reina's phone number in the contact list. Reina Ryugyu. There she was. Hello? This is Ryugyu. It was the voice of a grumpy... Oh, shit. I fucked it up. I read it. I guessed wrong. It was a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Reina's father. I am calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite. I'm sorry for calling you so late. This is Maibara. Is there any chance Reina-san is around? Reina is taking a bath. She's done? Reina, there's a friend of yours on the phone. Oh, right. Reina Regu was her real name, wasn't it? I'd gotten so used to just calling her Reina that hearing her real name kind of caught me off guard.
Hello? This is Reina.
It's me, Keiichi. Sorry for calling you so late.
Huh? Keiichi-kun? What do you need at a time like this?
Well, actually, I wanted to know where Rika-chan's house is. Reina seemed a little appalled that I'd call her just for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she'd caught on to how urgent my need was.
Okay, sure. You know the assembly hall in the grounds of the Furude Shrine? There's a 2-story shack used as storage behind it. That's where she lives.
I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew where she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look around. Got it. Thank you. Sorry again for calling so late. Apologize to your dad for me too, would you?
Okay, but Keiichi-kun, why do you want to know where Rika-chan lives?
Reina asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment as to whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
Keiichi-kun? If you're still listening, could you answer me? Why are you asking where Rika-chan lives at a time like this?
Reina afflicted her usual tone. Beneath her words was a certain tension, like she had intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Reina, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed.
Keiichi-kun?
Reina's being serious.
Please answer me.
Reina asked me once again in a tone so forcefully I couldn't imagine her using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Reina was Rika-chan's friend too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Reina, then, even if only for a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears. Reina, well, I can't exactly tell you why, but...
Yes?
Reina's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, "No matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you." The subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth. I have a feeling that Rika-chan's in danger.
You mean like a premonition? Or do you have some reason to believe she's in danger?
I really don't have the time to go back and forth with Reina about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience. I don't have much reason, but... Yet, I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So, it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Reina. While I was tongue-tied, Reina spoke up.
Sorry for asking some weird. I thought about it, and it isn't like you need to be sure.
Reina laughed a little, seemed a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Reina continued in a cheerful yet purposely voice.
You're worried about a friend. I don't think you need a reason to go and check on them.
Even if Rika-chan is asleep, and you ended up waking her up, if that was only what you did, then none of us would get mad. Reina, thank you.
Okay then. Keiichi-kun, just one more thing. You called Rika-chan's house, right? Then you just couldn't get through, so that's why you asked me where her house is?
Yeah, that's right. I must have called her for over 10 minutes. She could just be sleeping or not have noticed.
Rika-chan's house is really small. She would have definitely heard the phone ringing even if she was asleep. Satoko-chan is there too, so there's no way neither of them would notice.
Huh? Satoko? You mean she's living with Rika-chan?
Yeah. You didn't know? Well, we could talk about it later. Anyway, if you called that much and no one answered, then something's definitely wrong.
Reina understood the situation wasn't normal far faster than I couldn't have imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Reina was acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility for all this just being the result of my own needless fears went out the window. I'll go to Rika-chan's house right now. Will you come with me? I can show you the way. Oh shit, that was Reina talking. It's so hard to tell who's talking sometimes, so I don't know whose voice to try and do. Sounds good. Let's meet up at the same place as usual. I'll be waiting for you.
No, wait. I'll come get you at your house. You just wait there. And tell your family you're coming with me to Rika-chan's house, okay?
Will that be okay? We might lose time if you come here.
Did you call Michan too? She's really dependable at times like these. If you haven't, then I'll give her a call.
My thoughts froze for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful on Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface in the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So wouldn't that mean she wasn't involved in what happened the year Takano-san and Tomotaki-san, and also the mayor's disappearance?
Okay, bye. I'll be right over. Wait for me.
That's all Reina said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Reina wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? Then, it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either? Realizing that, then living together really meant causing my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worst. It can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there was a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there wouldn't be one for Satoko.
Keiichi-kun!
Reina was really fast. She approached me on her bike at amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, panting in a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going. Hey, Reina! Let's get going.
Keiichi-kun, I thought I told you to wait at your house.
Reina's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue and I faltered for a moment. Oh, I just figured it'd be faster to meet up here.
Keiichi-kun, don't you get it?
Reina shouted, clearly angry. I'd never seen Reina like this before. Do I get it? What's the problem? Reina seemed to notice she was scaring me and took a couple of deep breaths, then continued it as admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all.
Keiichi-kun, the whole village is in an uproar right now that the elder disappeared, right?
Yeah?
Now you're telling me that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't where they're supposed to be, right?
Yeah? That about sums it up.
Then you need to be more careful. Do you have any idea how dangerous it might be standing out here alone in the middle of the night?
I began to understand where Reina's anger was coming from.
You told your family you'd be going to Rika-chan's house with you, right? So what's the worst case scenario? If you and I were to disappear, people will know when and where we did.
Reina was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of Watanagashi, every night someone had just died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomotaki-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. And now, the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hinamizawa was a little weird at the moment. It was, in fact, extremely strange. Reina had even anticipated for her own disappearances and had told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me feel afraid of the night. Sorry, I didn't tell them yet.
Okay, then let's go tell them together.
With Reina beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. Oh shit, new art! I hadn't seen that background yet. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky, a sky that was uselessly vast and cold. So that no matter what, I could never seem to me like a dream. This cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Reina had been unimaginably dependable. Hinamizawa's metamorphosis, and not to make Reina caution me against carelessness, was to me the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on that way, and she, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Satoko's disappearance. Kei-chan, are you serious? I'm gonna go really mad if this is a joke. Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satoko disappearing after all that was something you couldn't just say, even in jest.
Mi-chan, if it was really a joke, don't get mad. Smile. It would be a joke after all. We need to go make sure whether it's a joke or not.
You're right. Sorry for getting upset. However indiscreet a joke it may have been, if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Reina, Mion gave a dry smile, and the tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our 3 bikes' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. There was some of only illumination outside. Kei-chan, why did you suddenly decide to call and ask Rika-chan about Rika-chan's house at a time like this? Mion asked me with the same thing I had trouble explaining to Reina. Would it be weird to call it a premonition? I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I thought I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness. Well, I had this bad dream while I was snoozing, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
So, did Rika-chan get kidnapped in the dream?
Well, it was more of like a vague feeling sort of thing. If Rika-chan had answered the phone, I would have called you and Reina after that. Lies smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them it was connected to Shion would be like silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her, or maybe she figured I was making sure Rika-chan and Satoko were safe would be faster than making an issue of it. I felt relieved and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't been really acting any differently these last few days, but I still tried to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I had heard from Shion and Oshi-san, that she was the successor of some super extravagant gang family. No. Was I trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi Maibara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone at that? Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At that time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that, Mion, then Shion, and Oshi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking of only everything she had done after that, while disregarding the very first thing, the thing I should have been looking at the most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me answers to any of the questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to wait and haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead. So this is the Furude Shrine. Everybody comes and goes as they pleases, as if it were a park, but this place is actually a grand estate owned by the Furude family. So the entire shrine is private property. It really makes you feel the passage of time. Sorry, one sec. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked the exact same. Then wouldn't that mean that the Furude family is really old? With a history going back for generations? Yeah, they're gone. That's odd. Reina said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her. What's wrong, Reina?
Rika-chan and Satoko-chan. They always leave their bikes here. See? They're gone.
I took a look around. Indeed, there was no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd just taken to get here. Couldn't they have parked them somewhere else? Could they have brought them up the stairs?
Those girls couldn't do that, Keiichi-kun.
Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up here. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't that all good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and hadn't noticed them. I refuse to believe that not being able to find their bikes was proof that they disappeared. Let's go. The only way to be sure is to check the house. We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red and came into the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened. So where's the house they live in?
Over here. Come with me.
Rena took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine and then looped around behind it. Dude, this is making me so anxious. Like, I don't know, just the fact that it was Rena, Mion, and me alone in the first book when shit really took a turn, you know? In the darkness of the night, we found a small, prefab, 2-story shack that looked like a warehouse. Oh, God, that's where they... Oh, this... In the anime, it looks a little nicer, but, like, I guess we never see it from this angle either. The lights were off. Are they sleeping?
Let's knock.
Rena and Mion neared the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I figured they'd live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I expected. I mean, what did you expect? It's literally just 2, like, 8-year-old girls on their own, because all their parents are dead. Like, it's pretty neat that they even, like, get to live in that place, honestly.
Rika-chan! Satoko-chan! Are you there?
Rena shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but suddenly grew louder. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all. They might be sleeping. Let's wake them up. Mion banged the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have noticed so much noise. They would turn on the light in the room, fling open the window, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist on the shutter, and the sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face.
It's locked. I wonder if we can get into it somehow.
Rena showed no signs of stopping. It didn't look like she would admit they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. The refusal to give in gave me strength. The second-story windows wouldn't be locked. I'll give them a try. Kei-chan, a ladder. Mion brought over a ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to climb yet, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, and I climbed up one step at a time and tried to open each window on the second floor.
Mii-chan, I'm gonna go check the main house just to be sure, okay? I'll be right back.
Rena darted away. What? A main house? It's the Furude family's actual house. After her parents passed away, I think it's been left like that. Ah, right. Rika-chan's parents. They passed away, huh? At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too? Satoko's also an orphan. Her parents fell from a cliff because of a Yashiro-sama's curse. Then her older brother Satoshi-kun disappeared. Satoshi. I've heard that name before. I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse. Ever since then, Satoko and Rika-chan have been living in this shack. Neither of them has any family, but at least they have each other. They help each other out. Rena said main house, didn't she? Wouldn't it be easier to live there? The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but 2 young girls living together seemed like a tough life. I think she tried at first. She said it was hard, though, because it reminded her of her parents. I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I'd never realized an atom of this. Rika-chan. Satoko-chan. They have it hard, huh? She's cursed. Huh? Suddenly Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she was really cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. I turned around the ladder to face her and asked again. Mion, what did you just say? I said she's cursed. Mion, still holding onto the ladder, brought her head up to look me in the eyes. As our eyes met, an absolute zero jolt of electricity surged through my body. Mion's eyes were clouded over, and within them boiled and bubbled a stew of chaos. They whirled around and around like a raging sea, and the bubbles floated to the surface. I had at some point been trapped on this ladder, like being cornered at a dead-end street. Mion, you... Why are you making that face? I intended to follow up with, "You're going too far with this joke," and give her a forced smile. However, on such uneven footing as I was, the only thing that came out of my mouth was a hoarse groan as I desperately struggled to not let nausea overwhelm me. Satoko Hojo. She's been cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Mion answers with a response to something I never asked, as if replying to somebody else's question. The only people who fell from the park observation platform were her parents. Only her parents, who treated her like dirt, died for that day. She was the only one to survive. Then she was sent to live with her aunt, who treated her cruelly, and the aunt was killed on the night of Watanagashi by some deviant who beat her to death so violently her brains were everywhere and her head was entirely a different shape by the end of it. Then, Satoshi-kun, who always protected her, he suddenly disappeared on her birthday. Someone made him disappear, even though he wasn't abusing her. The police judged him to have run away from home, but Satoshi-kun wasn't that kind of person who would do that. He was always earnest. He would never ask for anyone else's help. He would always drag himself through everything with hard work alone. He worked so hard he nearly ground his bones to dust, all for this one only little sister, and yet someone made him disappear. She was the only thing he lived for, and yet someone made him disappear. Poor, poor Satoshi-kun. He was never rewarded. That Satoshi-kun. How ungrateful that child is. So, she is cursed. All who get near her suffer the same fate. The curse kills them, or the curse makes them disappear. She cannot have any relief. She cannot have any relief. It's probably Satoko's fault that Rika-chan disappeared too. It has to be. 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 Mion was mumbling words over and over that were no longer coherent. Her shoulders were trembling so hard that I could feel it through the ladder. I almost lost my footing, which made me realize just how far to the ground really was. Calm down, Mion. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't sure if she'd heard me. Mion rocked back and forth, and that rocking and trembling became even more violent. Help me. The ladder, it's falling. Help me. Help. Just then, I heard the sound of many people running towards us. Oh, hey! Over here! I very nearly said help me outright. 4 or 5 adults, led by Reina, ran over here with flashlights.
Keiichi-kun, Mi-chan. Sorry I took so long. I borrowed the key.
Oh, nice one. Seems all the windows and doors are perfectly sealed. I was getting worried. When I heard Mion talking like nothing had just happened, I again felt a chill run through me. The person currently holding the ladder in place. It was definitely Mion. It was the real Mion Sonozaki. Then, the person muttering to themselves just a few seconds ago. Who was that? The person who mumbled all those terrible things like curses. Who was that? I jumped down from the ladder as if running away before Mion turned to the person who wasn't Mion for a second time. The adults tried a few different keys in the keyring as they tried to open the big shutter of the first door.
Rika-chan's house used to be a disaster shelter for the town council, so the key to the shutter is still kept in the mayor's house.
Is Rika-chan Satoko's private residence now, though? Well, this is on Rika-chan's property anyway. Nobody complains about it. Mion gave me a smile as she said it. I, however, could only return her gaze with an august expression. Mion was acting all too normal now, but that only contrasted to the more sharply she was earlier, un-Mion-like creepiness. Bang! Bam, clatter, clatter, bang. The shutter opened for the first time in a very long while. Reina located the light switch and wasted no time going inside. I followed her in.
Rika-chan! Satoko-chan! If you're here, say something!
We climbed a narrow staircase. It had looked like nothing more than a warehouse, but now that I was inside, I could feel how lived in it was. It was a person's home. Somehow the scent of the two of them filled the place. This was definitely where Rika-chan and Satoko lived. The first floor doubled as a town assembly warehouse, but the second floor was a space entirely for living. Yo, why gotta be creepy music box for this? Ugh. Just like a one-room apartment, past the kitchen was the living room taking up about 150 square feet. Dressers, cupboards, and the like were packed into the space, and in the corner there was a huge pile of clothes that appeared to have just been taken in from drying outside. In the center of the living room was a fold-up table, and on it were small containers for things like soy sauce and salad dressing, the sense of the frugal lifestyle drifting in from it all. It was strange that they weren't here in the middle of the night like this. The adults climbing the stairs one at a time began to make a fuss and talk amongst themselves. So, not here?
Yeah, they're not here. This is definitely weird.
The village had just been thrown into chaos yesterday because of the mayor's disappearance. Then today, even Rika-chan and Satoko had... Were they out playing somewhere together? That can't be. Their bicycles aren't here, though. Where would they have gone so late at night? Have they just not come back yet? Where did they go? The adults put forth various possibilities, and the house immediately devolved into a state of confusion. Eventually, Mion settled them down. I don't want to believe it, but the mayor, Kimiyoshi, disappeared yesterday. We can't say that this is unrelated. The adult's faces paled as Mion's declaration. Mine and Reina's as well. Let's see. They could have gone nearby for some tea or something, and then accidentally fallen asleep. Whoever invited them might not be able to wake them up all that, too. Let's eliminate that possibility first. Makino-san, please go around to the houses near the stream. Kiyotaro-san, go look into Ogage Lake. Okamura-san, you? Mion promptly gave directions to all the villagers. The adults followed them without hesitation despite her age. We'll remain here and call up anyone who can think of on the phone. Okay, everyone, you have your orders. Got it. The adults all roared in reply and pounded back down the stairs below.
Wow, Mi-chan! You're not only a chairperson of the school, but Hinamizawa, too.
Hey, Jose. You're good. Don't worry about it. We had some intense shenanigans already, so, glad you're here now. Ugh. Okay. No time for jokes. Hey, step aside. This old man is using the phone. Mion grinned proudly, took the receiver, and got started. Reina gave Mion a trusting look, considering her dependable for doing all this. My feelings, though, were a little more complicated. Since her leadership seemed to be the affirming of the Sonozaki family successor impression that Shion and Oshi-san had given me. Stop right there, Keiichi Maibara. None of that matters right now. The most important thing is to make sure Rika-chan and Satoko are safe. Let's see. Couldn't there be a clue hinting at where they might have gone somewhere in this room? Still, though, I wouldn't know how to look for anyway. It's times like these where I kind of wish this played a little bit like the Danganronpa novels, where like we'd actually be able to look around the room and shit. That'd be so cool. But I guess these are so old that just wasn't even a possibility, right? If we tore the whole place apart and figured out what was different from before, we might be able to speculate, but there was nothing strange about this room, and there was no clues in sight. In the first place, I had never been here before. There was no way for me to know what was different, and if I didn't know how the room usually looked... Don't give up, Keiichi Maibara. Stop thinking and start looking. For something. In search of something, I tried pulling open the dresser drawers and opened the windows. I didn't uncover anything meaningful, though. Reina, also unable to stand around doing nothing, was looking around the room like I was. Reina, I don't think you'll find Rika-chan by opening the refrigerator or cabinet underneath the sink.
I just thought they might be hiding. Help!
As we were searching, it got noisy outside. Villagers were quickly assembling there, having heard the commotion. Of course, a lot of them were probably people like Mion had called. I'll go tell everyone what's going on. The police will be here sooner or later, too. We'll need to explain the situation to Oshi. Mion began descending the stairs, and we followed her out the front of the house. There were already around 10 adults there, and all of them looked uneasy. I suddenly noticed that the old people from the shrine were here as well, and they were praying for Rika-chan's safety, rubbing their prayer beads. This has gotten bad. This wasn't a problem between friends anymore. Mion-chan, is it true that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't anywhere to be found? The villagers are all around a ring around Mion, swarming her. Mion raised her right hand, as if silently telling them to calm down. First, let's check every house according to the town council's notification division and see if they're visiting anyone. After all, they could be fast asleep at someone's house and totally unaware that we're looking for them. It would definitely be hard for someone to wake up Rika-chan if she's eaten a good full meal and fallen asleep like a kitten afterwards. How nice it would be if that were the case. I don't want to think about this, but it's also possible that something bad has happened. Mion's face grew remarkably more grim, and a wave of silence washed over the adults. We should divide up the work, too. We'll go around to all the places we went last night while looking for the mayor. We'll go look around the dam construction site as best we can. You guys go search around the school. Right. Let's go get a move on. Come on, let's go. All of you were up all night looking for the mayor. I know you're all low on sleep, but please, do your best. Got it! With that as their signal, the adults scattered in every direction. I figured I could go scatter somewhere as well, so I started walking unsteadily in a direction no one else had gone in. It was getting further and further from people. I didn't feel scared or anything, though. If someone were made to disappear, Shion and I should be first. It would have been perfectly normal for me to be scared of the dark. However, I didn't feel that way. Why was that? It was because tonight, someone had already disappeared. So nobody else would disappear tonight. It would take some time before I, exhausted as I was, would feel guilt at the case of my own selfish sense of relief. Suddenly my vision cleared, and a cold wind caressed my body. This was the hill from which you could see the whole village. Looking down from this hill, I could see lights here and there, and I knew the entire village had awoken from its slumber. First Takano-san and Tomotaki-san, then the mayor, and now even Rika-chan and Satoko had been sacrificed. And word of it was spreading everywhere. The strength in my knees left me. This could no longer be a joke. We could have found them. Mion would have told me I was a worrywart, and Reina would have just been glad that we did. And they would have smiled at me. My hopes disappeared as if I were awakening from a dream. That was what the view I could see was telling me, following my knees and my arms both bent backwards to the ground. I clawed at it with my nails. I couldn't figure out if I was feeling sorrow or frustration. Is this my fault? I couldn't endure the burden of my own sin, and I had just told Rika-chan about it. They had nothing to do with it, but Rika-chan and even Satoko had been sacrificed. It was like a cross, that Shion and I would each have to bear the weight if it until ourselves were erased. Well, if I'm gonna go that far, then the problem started long before that. My original sin of breaking taboo and entering the ritual storehouse without asking. I knew I shouldn't have gone in there from the start. Oh, hi! Yet I, lost out of cheap curiosity. I hadn't felt so angry at myself until this very moment. There was a crunching sound. It wasn't even an interest in who'd made the noise, despondent as I was. Keiichi-kun? Keiichi-kun! Are you okay? It was Reina. Currently out of work party, but I figured to see how it was going. Oh, it's going dandy! Just fine! No, we did have some shenanigans happen. Yeah. Gonna have to be VOD Squad. Yes. Sounds like... Yes, enjoy the VOD of this. Yeah. I did my best. as I always try to do the voices, but there's some really intense moments that happened earlier, so I'm sure you'll enjoy the story that we've gotten so far in this one. Perhaps my clawing at the ground made it look as though I was having stomach pains. She ran over and rubbed my back like she was trying to make me feel better. This is my fault. It's because of me. It's my fault.
Keiji-kun's fault? You didn't do anything wrong. Please don't blame yourself for this.
Looking forward to it. Have the nice rest of the day.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your party. Bye.
I could tell Rina was doing her best to choose the right words out of consideration for me. That's why I could sense her intent behind those words. Keiji-kun, you know why Rika-chan and Satoko-chan disappeared, don't you? Is what she really meant to say. Because it was an emergency, Reina had ignored that reason why I wanted to make sure Rika-chan was safe, but now that we'd actually confirmed her disappearance, it was only natural Reina would start to wonder about why. However, with the situation having gone this far, I couldn't possibly tell her now. I didn't want to admit it, that Rika-chan and Satoko had disappeared, and I couldn't let Reina disappear either.
Keiji-kun, if you stay out here in the wind, you'll catch cold.
Reina sat down, bringing her eyes level with mine.
They told us that children should go back home to sleep.
Reina showed me her watch as she said that. It was long past 1 in the morning. Time was passing way too quickly. Had I been crawling around here for that long?
If we don't sleep soon, we'll have trouble getting up for school tomorrow. Even the adults are really worn out since they were up searching for the mayor last night, too. They were saying they'd break up a little earlier tonight.
I was a little upset that they weren't allotting as much time as they had searched for the mayor last night, but that was something I, the cause of everything, had no right to criticize them for.
It's alright. The police arrived a little while ago. Look, there's police cars coming to the village right now.
Holy shit, Goebbels, calm down. They're like chewing so loud. Hearing that remark, I looked down at the village to see what they were indeed more cars than one would normally expect at this hour, coming from the darkness on the other side of the mountain. However, none of their emergency lights were on. Of course, their sirens weren't wailing either. That's right. All of the incidents that occurred right after Watanagashi was seen as products of Yashiro-sama's curse and would be handled in secrecy. Rika-chan and Satoko too. Their disappearance would end up exactly like the other serial incidents of the past. Superstitious, unresolved, declared a mystery, and disappear from memory. Rika-chan's face, her sweet face like a western doll, would fade away. Satoko's smile, her energetic, feigned smile, would fade away. The more I tried to remember them, the less I was able to. I deserved to be called an idiot dozens of times over, and I wouldn't be enough. I couldn't hold back the tears at my own sheer stupidity.
I don't know what you're blaming yourself for, Keiji-kun, but you should stop.
I wasn't about to deny it, and I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't affirm it either. I wanted to at least keep Reina out of this. If she found out, she would become involved. Please, Reina, could you just leave me alone? Even if I went home, I wouldn't be able to sleep. If I couldn't get sleep, then the least I wanted to do was search for Rika-chan and Satoko until I collapsed. The entire village was looking, yet they still hadn't been found. I don't think I'd be able to find them if I went looking alone at this point. Still, I had to do it. They disappeared. Because of me. I couldn't possibly go to sleep while other people were out there searching. I'd said that to myself in a self-deprecation, but I soon realized that Reina was silently trying to figure out the meaning of my mumblings. I realized I had misspoke.
It's Keiji-kun's fault? Why do you think that? Why?
That can't be. Keiichi-kun, you're not at fault. I was happy that Reina said these things to me, but she only did because she didn't know the truth. If she knew that everything had been caused by my breaking taboo on the night of Watanagashi, then even Reina would curse my existence. However, I can't even allow for those curses. That would mean confessing my own crimes to Reina. If I spilled even one word of having snuck into the ritual storehouse on the night of Watanagashi, then even Reina could disappear tomorrow. That gentle, spirited, always joking, always howling. But at a time like this, the most dependable person in the world, Reina might disappear. I don't want that. Anything but that. This time I needed to bear my cross. Alone.
Keiichi-kun, I know that you always have your friends in your heart. I can't really understand feeling like what you want to kick yourself. Reina knows, though, that it's not Keiichi-kun's fault. You didn't do anything wrong, Keiichi-kun. And I know that.
You know that? The shivering in my veins rushed back up my back and replaced the sorrow in my heart with fear. I didn't tell her anything, did I? Maybe I accidentally said something that caused Reina to figure it out? This is bad. Now Reina will disappear, Reina will disappear, Reina will disappear. Then Reina, the same way I always did, grabbed my head and began to pet it roughly.
Keiichi-kun, are you thinking that Reina might disappear now too? Because of Yashio-sama's curse?
She puts more force into the hand rubbing my head.
You don't need to worry about that. Reina isn't going anywhere. I promise.
Why? How can you say that with such confidence? I mean, someone's been sacrificed every night so far. There was no proof that it wouldn't happen again tomorrow. There's even lost proof, after all, that the sacrifice wouldn't be Reina. I don't care who you are. Just please, if you're going to erase someone, erase me first. Please stop cruelly getting rid of people that weren't close to. Like the mayor for Shion and Rika-chan and Satoko for me. Shion's hysterical shouting came back to mind. They must be planning to kill us last of all. They're not killing the first people who came to mind. They're starting by killing those we're close to. And then after they've caused us so much pain, they'll kill us. That must be what they're doing. Reina. Please don't disappear. Please don't. As long as I'm still here, I could no longer conceal the sobs welling up inside me.
Come on, Keiichi-kun. Crying doesn't suit you. Let's go back to the others. The housewives are cooking some miso soup for us. It'll warm you up and calm you down.
Reina prompted me to stand. I didn't have the energy to oppose her, so I stood as she urged me to. We returned to the shrine grounds to find several gas stoves. There were miso soup in big pots. The many villagers were sipping on the soup they had given in a dead, stony silence. Their expressions were absolutely exhausted. Everyone had just been running around the village until a little while ago. From the dreary looks on their faces, though, I assumed they hadn't come up with anything yet. Kei-chan, where did you go? I was worried you disappeared too. Sorry. Mion held out some miso soup for me, but I refused the offer. I didn't have much of an appetite.
Mi-chan, how is it? Did you find any clues?
Mion took a sip of her soup, her expression frank. None at all. School ended and they went home. Then the two of them went somewhere on their bicycles. Moreover, nobody even saw them riding their bikes, so... When it gets dark out in Hinamizawa, people quickly vanish from the streets. Aside from the adults hurrying back home from town in cars or on bikes, it was normal to see absolutely nobody walking around outside. It wasn't all that strange that nobody had seen Rika-chan or Satoko riding their bikes. It was the same last night with the mayor. There's no hope. Mion's apathetic tone pricked my nerves, but that anger quickly subsided. She had been doing all sorts of things to try and find Rika-chan until just a second ago. If I asked her, she'd probably say she was up all last night too, looking for the mayor, wouldn't she? She must have been far more fatigued than I was. Besides, what about me? I'd spent this much time hunched over in indecision all alone. I had no right to say anything about my own. Kei-chan, I know it's hard, but let's turn in for the night. We just decided we should break up the search for now. Drink this and let's call it quits. Is this the end? Oh no, of course not. Once it's bright out again, we'll do a thorough search with the police's help. They could have gone to Okinomiya too. People are even saying we should go through all of Shishibone City investigating whether there was any witnesses for both the girls and the mayor. Anyway, what happened, Kei-chan? Where did you go off to? You vanished all of a sudden. I was really worried. Suddenly, I was on the receiving end, but I didn't have the willpower to respond. Sorry. I'll be more careful. Nothing happened? There wasn't anyone suspicious spying or stalking you? Nothing like that? Mion demanded with a serious expression. I was being criticized for how inconsiderate I had been. Despite being in so much pain, I was frustrated that I was being criticized, but it was my sin. My sin, and I must bear it alone. Nothing. I'll be careful either way. Sorry. Mion, now aware that nothing had happened, heaved a big sigh with her shoulders, looking relieved. Oh my. I knew I smelled something good coming from over here. I'd be much obliged if you allowed me to have some. We heard the repulsive voice of a fat man. Yeah, fuck the one guy trying to help us. Good lord. It was Oishi-san, trailed by a handful of police officers. He was acting energetically, in a way unfitting given the situation. There's not much left, but you can have some if you want. Mion didn't like Oishi-san very much. Her cold attitude, though, didn't seem to bother Oishi-san in the slightest. It was like splashing water on a frog's face. Well now, miso soup leftovers have a bit too much salt for my taste. Confound it. Nah! Would you all like any? He recommended it to his subordinates, but everyone gave dry smiles and refused.
So, have the police gotten a hold of any leads? Clues?
Reina's smile was warm enough to replace the miso soup. Don't you worry, little missy.
Everything's fine.
We're searching for them real good. Woo-hoo-hoo. He didn't say a word about having found any new clues. In other words, there had been no progress. That was sure annoying a way of being around the bush. In any case, it really has gotten late. All of you youngsters should be getting home and get some sleep. It'll be bad for your health otherwise. Yeah. Kei-chan, Reina, go get some rest. These guys get our tax money. They'll handle it from here for us. We're taxpayers too, you know. It's like we're drinking our own piss. Yeah, I wasn't really in the mood for laughter. In fact, Oishi-san was the only one laughing like an idiot.
Okay. Seriously, please do your best. Let's go home, Keiichi-kun. It'll be harder to wake up tomorrow if we don't.
Yeah, that's right. I can always bring you home if you need. Kuma-chan, why don't you bring the car around? No thanks. We came on our bikes, so... No need to worry. We came in a truck. We'll just throw the bikes in the back. We may have gotten pretty sleepy, but we just needed a ride home at this point. I didn't want to bother the police like that. Reina, however, nodded.
Okay, if you insist, we'd appreciate it. It's probably safer than if we went back alone.
When I thought about it carefully, I realized that Reina's idea was extremely rational. Now that it's decided, let's get a move on, shall we? Okay, bye. Good night. Reina, Kei-chan.
Yeah. Mi-chan, you go to bed soon too, okay? Good night.
I waved my hands as well, saying goodbye. Rika-chan and Satoko still hadn't been found. My unease, however, was steadily being pushed away by sleepiness. Reina showed the police where our bikes were so that Oishi-san could haul them to their truck. He prompted us to get in the back seat. I could hear the springs squeaking as I sat down on the seat, Normally it would hurt my rear end, but at this point it was very soft and more comfortable enough for me to fall asleep on. Ladies first. We'll start with the little Mrs. house. Where do you live?
Thank you. My house is, well...
Okay, I was worried that something was going to happen to that truck. Oh, maybe it still will. Never mind. Raina's voice slowly grew distant. I felt myself being sucked into the void of sleep. Hello? My Bara-san, are you asleep back there? Hard to tell. Yeah. When I came to, it was quiet. The car was parked. Oshi-san was giving me light slaps to the cheek. It didn't feel too good at all, so I woke up immediately. I'm sorry. I just fell asleep. Something was being held right under my nose. A clump of metal? It was a can of coffee. Okay. In my brain I immediately went, oh my god, he pulled a gun on him. It's lukewarm by now, but cafe au lait is a good even at room temperature. Oh, thanks. I mechanically took the can and opened the pull top. The feeling of the warm, sweet liquid going down my throat awakened my sleepy mind. When my drowsiness receded, I started wanting to know why the car was stopped and why I was offered coffee. Oshi-san, who had been in the driver's seat, had at some point moved to the back. Uh-oh. Suddenly, I had a very bad feeling about this. It reminded me of the questioning yesterday at the library. It was already too late by the time I'd realized I'd made a mistake. Today, of all days, it didn't look like I would be getting away. I had a feeling that until Oshi-san heard what he wanted, he wouldn't be letting me go. Please don't get all formal on me. I'm not going to eat you or anything. Mabara-san? Oshi-san gulped down the last of his coffee and then stretched wide, showing me how relaxed he was. That, however, only served to heighten my nervousness. What do you need from me? Need? Oh, no, nothing really. You're going to evade the question at this point. What a deeply unredeemable man. Well, I don't need you for anything. I just thought that you might need something from me, my Bara-san. I don't. I don't need anything. Oh, I see. Really? You sure there's nothing? There was only one side door in the back seat of this truck. In other words, my only exit was blocked off by Oshi-san. I couldn't get away. I could only limply hang my head and maintain my silence. Oshi-san, despite my resistance, relaxed and began smoking a cigarette. The cries of the insects outside seemed to be growing louder and louder to an amount of time that almost seemed infinite. Here I was sure that you would need something, or that you wanted to talk to me about. Oshi-san exhaled a puff of smoke. The windows were open, but the tobacco smoke still accumulated inside the vehicle. How much did Oshi-san know? What did he know, and what did he want to hear from me? If finding out the truth made you disappear, then if I told him, would Oshi-san disappear too? I had a feeling I didn't need to worry about that in this case. I wonder how all this ended up happening. Oshi-san addressed me in a low tone, as if he was talking to himself. How all of this ended up happening? How the hell should I know? That was what I wanted to know. You know Jiro Toмотaki-san and Mio Takano-san, right? I know you do, because I personally witnessed you with them during the festival along with Shion Sonozaki-san. Do you know how Toмотaki-san and Takano-san are doing now? They're actually... well, they've passed away. They met their very untimely deaths. Oshi-san probably played that card in order to surprise me. However, I already knew, and I didn't display the extreme reaction he expected. What's this? Did you already know? Unfortunately for his question in particular, remaining silent was equivalent to saying yes. Ah. So, did you also know the reason Toмотaki-san and Takano-san were cursed like that? People are saying that apparently they went into some forbidden building. The storehouse for ritual implements. The forbidden shed sealing away Hinamizawa's blood-stained past. Where the mistake that started it all happened. Do you know about the rumors? They say that the mayor and Rika Furude-san were cursed because of that too. That would mean it was mine and Shion's fault. He was right. As soon as we revealed that what we did. What did they call it? A ritual storehouse? They're saying it was bad luck to lock it and had been replaced with a simpler one, which made it easier for the thieves to get inside. What? This was news to me. Until last year, it apparently had been using these big bars and a huge padlock tub on it. I mean, you know, ever since the priest and his wife passed away, Rika Furude-san had been managing that place, right? Apparently she talked to the mayor saying she wanted to replace it with a lighter, more simpler padlock because the bars were way too heavy for her. I didn't know anything about those two big bars he was talking about, but the lock had certainly been a simple one. It was apparently pretty cheap too, and it didn't really fit in the impression of what the lock for a place like you'd store something as important as ritual implements would look like. Rika-san is a small girl after all. The bars were heavy with rust. They must have caused her a lot of trouble. So the mayor hired a craftsman and replaced the lock with a simple padlock, so she could open it with a key. So, how does that mean it was bad luck? Sorry. Here's what I'm saying. Thieves couldn't get in with the old tight lock. The mayor and Rika-san replaced it with a cheap lock and a key on their own, so the thieves broke into it. Apparently that's how it's going down. That explanation's a bit... Letting that slide. Certain members of the village delivered punishment among the thieves who stole into the ritual storehouse, as well as the mayor and Rika-san who changed the lock. At least, those are the whispers that seem to be going around. My bar-san. What do you think? What do I think? I don't really know what you mean by certain members of the village. Are you familiar with the three families? Representatives from each of them give short addresses at the Watanagashi Festival's opening ceremony. Did you see them? I came partway through the festival, so I don't really... The three families are the three oldest families in Hinamizawa. To give actual names, the Kimiyoshi family, the Sonozaki family, and the Furude family. They each have quite the lineage, it seems. Long ago, it said that everything in the village was decided by a council of these three families. The Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi meaning, the mayor's family. The Sonozaki family was Mion's. So the Furude family was Rika-chan's family then. After the war, the Sonozaki family quickly expanded their influence. Particularly speaking, after leading the fight against the construction during the dam conflict, they jumped to the top of the hierarchy in Hinamizawa. You see, though in accordance in the old ways, they still decided important village matters only consulting the three families. That's why the leaders of the three families each have their own addresses at the start of Watanagashi. In other words, the mayor, the old lady currently in charge of the Sonozaki family, and the last remaining member of the Furude family, Rika-san. I heard the Sonozaki family was pretty high up there, so Rika-chan's family was just as old? Well, as you're aware, she has no relatives at all. In reality, the Furude family holds pretty much no influence. However, it seems like people's gratitude towards Rika-san on a personal level, and I hear that many of the villagers' elderly have blind faith in her. It was certainly true that Rika-chan had an odd sort of charisma amongst the elderly. So, what are you telling me about all this for? Three families stuff for? Oshi-san paused for emphasis, lighting another cigarette. I've explained a lot, but I suppose it's still not enough. I'm asking because I don't understand. Oshi-san gave me a dry, meaningful grin and blew out another big puff of smoke. Members of the three families are disappearing one after another. That's what I'm talking about. I've read that it's based on some kind of old tradition inherent in Hinamizawa, but I don't know much beyond that. I don't know anything about it either. That's why I'm asking. The leaders of the Kimiyoshi and Furude families have disappeared, so maybe the leader of the Sonozaki family will disappear next. Well, that's just a random idea bouncing around in my head at the moment. Just kidding, really. The leader of the Sonozaki family? Who is it? The current leader is the old lady and at their main house. But it wouldn't be incorrect to say that particularly all the late knights of leadership have been transferred to her granddaughter, Mion-san. The visage of Mion giving prompt directions to the adults who were searching for Rika-chan sprung back to mind. Mion? She's gonna disappear? I hadn't even thought about that possibility. All of my hair stood on end. That's insane. Nobody wants that, right? Of course not. We can't allow it. Clamp. Oshi-san grabbed my shoulders with both hands. Then help us, Maibara-san. If there's anything you've noticed about Mion Sonozaki lately, please tell me. I was going along with him? By the time I'd realized it was too late. Oshi-san brought his face closer, almost close enough for him to ram into me, waiting for my next words. This pressure. I can't tear my eyes away from his. That moment, I heard a beeping sound. It was from the driver's seat. He ignored it at first, but then it started to bother him, so he finally let go of me and leaned into the driver's seat. Hello? Yep, loud and clear. I was saved. Of course, it's not like I could escape from the opening. I see. Yeah, alright. Let's head back then. Yes. Okay. Apparently, he was being recalled. Now that I knew I'd been freed, the tension in my body dissipated at once. Looks like I need to get going. We were just getting to the good part, too. That's too bad. Oshi-san flung open the door excited and walked around the front to the driver's seat. He left the door open. Did that mean I could leave? You really care about your friends, Maibara-san. An admirable trait for a kid to have in his day and age. I totally understand that it feels like you're betraying them if you told the police anything. Maibara-san. It's the middle of the night, so get a good night's sleep and then think about it. Just a little bit of courage from you might end up being what saves many of your friends in the end. Did he want to say that the sacrifices wouldn't stop with Rika and Satoko? You know this already, but every night since Watanagashi something has happened. In the past, the curse only occurred once per year, but this time it's been going on for days. What a prosperous year it's been. I don't think you can call this prosperous. The night before last night, and now today. There's no proof that something won't happen tomorrow night as well. It's our job to prevent such things before they happen, but for that, I need your cooperation, Maibara-san. I looked out the open door, to see none other than my own house right in front of me. It creeped me out that he knew my name and address, but I was too sleepy right now. Way too sleepy to care. You're probably tired. It's already 3 a.m. Please, get yourself a good rest. Yes, sir. I'll be going now. When I was about to get out of the truck, as if to deliver a parting blow, Oshi-san said in a raised voice, I'll be coming by every day until you feel like talking, okay? I don't believe forcing you to confess in a interrogation room really is the fashion these days. I couldn't say anything in response, but me slamming the door shut probably served the same purpose. After lightly beeping the horn, Oshi-san's truck drove off. I went to the front door without waving goodbye. The door was locked, but the chain wasn't up. I unlocked the door and entered. Then walked over to the staircase. Why was the door locked? And that's where I lost consciousness. What? What? That seems a little sketch. Because, I mean, like, he snuck out, so why would his parents know to come lock the door again? I don't like that. Alright, let's view these new tips. Holy shit, 4 of them. Ooh, another scrapbook entry. Let's go. The Sonozaki family. The one who drastically expanded its influence after the war was the Sonozaki family. The leader at the time was Oryo Sonozaki, who still has the seat today. Oryo Sonozaki has grown old, and today you can only catch a glimpse of who she was at the time. From what I have been told, however, she was a leader extolled at the best of history. Having become so old, aside from going out a few times a week for lessons, she spends her time at home in solitude and seems to leave most of the ceremonial affairs to her heir, Myon. There are different views on why the successor was not her daughter, but her granddaughter, Myon, but it's rumored that it has to do with the disownment of her daughter and son-in-law. The uninhibited granddaughter Myon Sonozaki still shows no signs of the dignity required of the next leader. However, she does have Sonozaki blood in her veins, and is permitted the name Demon. She still doubtlessly requires caution, and is probably hiding her fangs and claws as skillfully as the leaders of the past did. Oh, that was a short one. Holy shit. Oh yeah, I remember hearing that in the anime that, like, Myon means demon or something. Or, like, the kanji was, like, close to demon or something. I don't know. Yeah, the postal worker hasn't seen anything either. The Sonozaki main house was the seal hanging from the mailbox, so anyone can stamp their mail and parcels on it when it drops in. Ahaha, that's rather careless of them. So, when was she last seen? She was last seen at the Watanagashi opening ceremony greeting. She apparently returned home right after that. Well, she is pretty old. From what I've heard, she goes out a few times a week to take lessons, right? Have you found anything about that? Every Monday she goes to the assembly hall to practice the Tai Shogoto, but she didn't go this week. Any calls to say why she wasn't going to be there? Has anyone confirmed it? No, nobody. She apparently takes days off once in a while, though, so no one has thought it strange. Tomorrow, why don't we pretend we're in town hall and call someone around 10? Please figure out whether she's home. 10 o'clock? Got it. Ever since it started to seem more and more like an ancient Hinamizawa tradition that had something to do with all this, he'd been keeping a careful eye on the three families. At this point, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family and the leader of the Furude family had disappeared. There was only one leader left. Oryo Sonozaki, the leader of the Sonozaki family. She was apparently a pretty old woman. Her dignity hasn't waned, but she still only appeared before people rarely, so it was difficult to confirm where she was at any given time. She, the last leader, hadn't been seen since the day of Watanagashi. Was she still alive and, well, within the Sonozaki main house? Or had she? According to Myon Sonozaki, she had fallen ill and was sleeping it off. I wonder if she's really sleeping. I'd like to take a look at her face and her pulse. You can say that again. The two of them breathed out a big puff of cigarette smoke. Oshi-san, about the search warrants for the Sonozaki main house and the Furude shrine. Do you think we'll get them? Oshi-san didn't respond. Exhaled another cloud of tobacco smoke, his surroundings now as foggy as his mind. Ah, they're trying to search. Wait. Interesting. Ooh, another scrapbook. The Hidden Demon. The inhabitants of Hinamizawa believe that the blood of the demon flows in their blood. As such, the character for demon, that is treated as very sacred. For example, usage of the character and names is apparently right reserved only for the leaders of the Kimiyoshi and Sonozaki families. Case in point, we can see it in the current Sonozaki family leader's name. Oryo is written with the character... Oh, I see. Okay. This, and only this, is proof that she's the legitimate leader of the Sonozaki family. In the same way, Myon Sonozaki, its successor, contains in her name as well. Me, been written as... Ah! Yes, okay, cool. It also goes for Oryo's daughter, and Myon's mother, Akane, who did not succeed her. It's known that before disowning, Akane's name was actually written as... though it changed afterwards to... but is still read as Akane. Incidentally, it's thought that the first character of the Mayor Kyochi's name originally meant demon, which can also be written as Ki. It also said that names used as character aren't limited to only successors of the Sonozaki family. You can even find it in the last name of the three families. For example, the characters in Kimiyoshi are likely split a division of. If you write it in reverse, in the top to the bottom as, it clearly resembles the character. As for Furuta family, who have been in the Shito priesthood for generations, the word for fortune teller can be written without interval characters as. I think that the tradition of the demon's horn, the tick on the top of the character, that is used in their name now. Man, I'm so sorry. If you're one of those people who just has this in the background, I don't know how to read these, and I'm so sorry. In the case of the Sonozaki family, where Sonozaki is written, I can't find any reference to the character. Perhaps because it's already integrated into their first names. They were the clan responsible for running the Watanagashi ceremony, so I think that instead, they included the contents of the ceremony into their last name. The Zaki in Sonozaki is a conjugation of the word for slice, and the Sono is written as probably contains the hidden meaning of human body, as it is complicated mess, organs, enclosed by our four sides. I think in other words that Sonozaki comes from those who slice open the gut. Okay, we made it through. We made it through that. One last hit. Request denied. Oh no. I'm back. How did it go? Did you find any clues? The officers shook their heads in disappointment. Exhaustion was plainly showing on everyone's face. That was only natural. None of them had gotten a wink of sleep since the day of Watanagashi. Chief, we'll let the youngest of us take a nap and then switch them out. We've got a long stretch ahead of us after all. Let's not push ourselves too hard. Rest up so we can take it easy as we go. I've been telling them to sleep in shifts. Nobody actually seems willing to sleep, though. Could you tell them yourself, Oshi-san? Oh my. You don't need me to force yourselves. Komiyama-kun, please let everyone sleep in shifts, starting with the youngest. Komiyama-san, please do that. After the chief told him as well, Komiyama-san left his seat. So, Chief, still no good on our request? It's just a rumor among the villagers in the first place, you know. It's not going to be difficult without more concrete evidence. Even when the evidence might be tucked away in there? We need evidence, then evidence is tucked away in there. Chief, don't start speaking in riddles to me now. We have witnesses that say 4 people, including 2 of them who have died, went into the forbidden ritual storehouse without permission. This is all reliable information. You might call it information, but really it's only rumors. They're not concrete evidence. Well, it's true that we don't have any pictures of the 4 of them sneaking in the cloth tied around their heads. Anyway, those 4 we saw something inside that storehouse. Something important enough that they be erased. Important enough that they be erased? What would that be exactly? That's why I'm asking for a warrant to go looking for it in the first place. Anything pointing out the Sonozaki family's connection to a violent organization would be a major contender. Like a pile of Tokarevs or a secret poppy production facility. The secret Sonozaki family fortune would also be pretty difficult to discard. Oops. Look, Oshi-san, I know how you feel. However, that storehouse is a sacred building belonging to the Furuta Shrine, and we need to have a proper consideration for the locals while dealing with it. I heard that there was an hour-long call made from the Congress Sonozaki to a big man. Chief, could he have nailed you back down? Anyway, as long as we don't have a suitable evidence, we won't get a search warrant for the storehouse. And that goes for the Sonozaki main house, too. Especially considering that it's the jurisdiction of both Section 4 and the Prefectural Police Crimes Prevention Division. We need to be careful in preparations first. If you say you need preparations, then why don't we just talk to them directly? Shigure-chan is the head of Section 4, right? For the crime prevention, it's Yamamori-san. They seem like they'd be quicker to talk to if I sat them down at my mahjong table. Chief, you have a visitor. Yikes. Pushing the employee who guided him right out of the way was an old man who looked like a Yakuza member, giving his crested kimono and hakuma. Did he not get enough of this over the phone? I am Congressman Sogozaki. I demand to know who's responsible for this. This instant. Hello. I am the division chief, Tatsugugi. I don't need your name. I could have you demoted on a whim. You wouldn't even be enough. Bring out the one called Oshi or whatever. He deserves punishment for requesting a search warrant of the sacred Furude shrine. I sincerely apologize. Oshi-san is currently out on an investigation, and he's been difficult to contact. I'll take his place and hear you out. So please, have a seat. The chief's eyes were telling me to get out of here. Perhaps I'll be grateful to accept his favor. Maybe I'll go lay down in a nap room. Listen here. The Furude shrine spent 2,600 years under the imperial calendar and 2,500 more beyond that. It is sacred, a sanctuary that must never be defiled. The 800,000 gods, Oisho-sama, and the spirits of the ancestors are all enshrined there. The holy shrine protects Hinamizawa from what the sun comes up and when it sets, and from when the moon rises and when it falls. Who was the idiot who wanted to set foot in there? Besides, the right to the religion is the most revered right of the people of the country of the Constitution. You dared to not be so bold to sully that by using your own investigation's negligence as pretext? I cannot and I will not allow it. Are you listening, you lying scum? I'm angry now, and you're not getting off the hook that easily. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Well, based on those tips, I think I'm gonna go ahead and guess that Oreo Sonozaki, I think she's dead. And I think Mion's just calling the shots. Or is it Shion? I guess we don't know. We just don't know. Because still, like, we don't know. Was that Mion or was that Shion? We're never gonna know. Anyway, alright, we're gonna take a brief intermission. Get some snacks, get some drinkies, get your restroom breaks in, and we'll be back with chapter 11 in a couple minutes here. Alright. Oops, where's my... And break. We back. Let's get this bread. Oh, I guess I should save. Imagine had something like catastrophic happened on that break and it didn't save and we had to read chapter 9 again, or chapter 10 again. How crazy, right? I'd just cry. Alright. Here we go, baby. Chapter 11. I saw a ceiling I was familiar with. Though I was groggy from sleep, I did notice that I was in my futon, like I was every morning. I looked at my clock, and despite having turned in so late last night, I had awoken precisely at the same moment I always did. I'm so low on sleep, but I guess you really can get up at the same time every day. The secrets of the human body never cease to amaze me. If I went back to sleep like this, I would definitely not be waking up again. So I spurred myself on and slipped out of my futon. Mom asked me about last night at breakfast. Apparently we two had gotten a call asking if we knew where Rika-chan and Satoko were, and Mom vaguely understood that something serious was happening. Son, you were out late last night with all your friends looking for him? Till about 3, I think. Yeah. Did you find them? Rika-chan and Satoko-chan, I mean. Crunch. I was really a bit into my toast. It really didn't have any taste. Just then we heard the chime go ding-dong. I looked up the clock so that it was about 5 minutes past my regular meeting time with Reina, and it was her at the door.
Good morning. Did you get any sleep? Did you?
I think I slept for a few hours. You could probably count them as chicken toes, though. Sorry, had to sneeze. Okay. Ow, my shoulder hurts. What the fuck? Oh god. Maybe I'm dying. I sneezed so hard, God was like, alright, it's your time. Ugh. Reina seemed pretty sleep deprived as well. There was something missing from her usual spirit.
Are you going to school?
Yeah, I think it would be better that way. She said, smiling, albeit stiffly. Reina was probably worrying her heart out about those two as well. Even so, she wanted to go to school.
If you stay home today, I think you'd just be worrying non-stop and sleeping.
I don't want that.
So let's go to school together.
Alright. Wait just a moment. I'll get ready. I was just a little bit happy about Reina mustering that much consideration for me. We went to the place where we'd usually meet up with Mion, but she was nowhere to be found. We were a little bit late today, so we thought she'd be waiting for us.
I guess Mi-chan couldn't wake up, huh?
Yeah, that's right. For her, it wasn't just yesterday. She was up all night looking for the mayor the night before the last, too. We waited for a bit. Time passed until we got to the point where it was okay for us to go on alone, and we exchanged glances. What do we do? Wait a little longer? At that point, my brain, which had finally been woken up by the morning air, recalled the ominous words Oshi-san had left me with last night. The leaders of the 3 families were disappearing one after another. And next, it might be the Sonozaki's leader. Could Mion have? No, that couldn't be.
Let's go. Let's let her sleep for today.
Reina gave me a pat on the back. Mion. She's still here, right?
Did you say something?
Nothing. Just talking to myself. Let's get moving. The 2 of us headed to school by ourselves. On the way, we saw a bunch of our classmates accompanied by their parents. Even looked like some of them were being taken to school by car. Surprisingly, the principal was also standing watch at the school gate. I'd never seen that before. Good morning, good morning. The principal was bowing to our classmates' guardians. The wooden sword leaning next to him was a little ominous. Maibara-kun, good morning. Ryugu-kun, good morning.
Good morning.
Your teacher has something important to say, so head straight to the classroom. Alright? Reina and I said nothing. The madness that only existed at night had finally crawled into the sunlight. That's what it felt like. I suppose everyone's on edge. Now 2 kids missing? Shit.
Good morning, everyone.
The hushed conversations that had been spreading for a while now all disappeared like an illusion the moment our teacher walked in the door. Silence dominated the classroom. The principal came in with the teacher as well. This was clearly not a normal morning. First, the principal had something important to tell everyone. Go ahead, Mr. Principal. Mr. Principal, shut up. The principal cleared his throat and approached the dais. It's like they didn't want to give him a name. I'm sure some of you already know. The classroom was dead silent. Everyone was staring at Rika-chan and Satoko's empty seats. The principal briefly and simply declared that Rika-chan and Satoko had gone missing. There wasn't a single person in the classroom who didn't already know. There seemed to be many, however, who couldn't accept it as truth. It had been confirmed to them now by the principal's words. There were sobs throughout the classroom, and I heard a kid crying. They steadily spread throughout the whole room. The big-hearted principal wasn't able to keep his cool either. Okay, everyone, pay attention. From today on, your parents or guardians will be taking you to and from school. For those of you whose parents can't do so, you'll be coming here in groups. I made a handout, so read it carefully and be sure to show it to your parents. Understand? The teacher's voice now a little abrasive. Not even she could conceal the strain she felt for this unprecedented, abnormal situation. They should have just canceled school today. However, Reina told me that the school is also like a nursery for the students whose parents both worked, so some of them wouldn't want school to be canceled. Well then, let's begin the lesson. Class president... Oh, she's absent, I see. Whoever's on day duty, let me hear it. All rise. That feeling of wanting to maintain an everyday atmosphere, even if only in school precisely because our lives had been messed up, was something that I agreed with at this point. Yeah. That feeling when shit's so crazy that it's like just pretending to be normal and do your everyday thing. Yeah. As for the teacher, who always had her lunch in the staff lounge, she ate in the classroom today. I had to laugh at her curry bento, which was just a rumor until now, but there's nobody to laugh with me. Reina brought her chair and lunch over and sat with me. Today, it was just the 2 of us. The fact that we didn't need to drag any other desks over was sad.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah. I don't feel like sleeping anymore, though. In fact, I'm jealous of the people who could sleep at a time like this. They got nerves of steel.
You're right.
I was sleepy this morning, but my drowsiness had been dissipated after coming to school and constantly feeling the incredible tension. Reina's bento box didn't have its usual luster. And that was to be expected. Reina was up for a long time last night, too. She wouldn't have had time to make her lunch beforehand. Since it's not like she would have had gotten up that early this morning.
Grab anything you want. Go ahead. You can admit that my bento is better today.
Oh, shit. It was the other way around. Shit.
Okay. I'll have some.
Wow.
A chikawa roll with puree and cheese? That's interesting.
Reina, yours might have already made food in it, but it's pretty good too. I realized the 2 of us were desperately trying to brighten the afternoon mood to its usual level as much as we could. I looked around the classroom, and it seemed like we were the only ones trying to do so. Surrounded by us was gloominess.
Just the 2 of us sharing our lunches like this. It's sort of, well, sort of something.
Our laughter grew quieter. I was the first one to mess up. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's not your fault.
Our chopsticks both stopped moving. We couldn't keep it up anymore. Rika-chan, Satoko. I wonder where they went. Those words might have sounded too miserable. Everyone was thinking it, using roundabout ways to address the topic, but I came right out and said it. I heard Reina catch her breath.
Yesterday, while you were gone, I heard a bunch of things. So I'll tell you what I know, okay?
Sorry again about last night. Go ahead. At that time, since they had arrived for support, Reina was helping the Ladies' Society cook the miso soup we'd had. They reported all the information to the villagers had gathered, and Reina said she overheard it.
They didn't know anything important, though, did they?
Oh shit, it was probably... God damn, it's so hard to tell who's talking! Rika-chan and Satoko went home after school, and apparently they went somewhere on their bikes, but other than that... Mion had told me yesterday. We had no clues.
Yeah. The police also said they probably went on their bikes to play somewhere as soon as they got home. If they were going to go out and play somewhere on their bikes right after getting home, then they might have gone into town. So I guess they concluded they disappeared while in Okinomiya. The police were saying how they were going to expand their search to Okinomiya in the morning.
In town. It makes sense why they couldn't find them even though they searched all over Hinamizawa then. Still, something didn't fit. I had no bias for thinking this, just a gut feeling. I revealed something to Rika-chan that was likely very important to her that day. Then Rika-chan had told me to leave it to her. And then... what did she say? Oh, right. If she didn't work hard, then something bad might happen to the dog, too, I think. With all the talk of dogs and cats, I still didn't have the faintest idea what she really meant. But it might have been that Rika-chan's way of saying this was a race against time. Damn it. I'd selfishly pushed my anxiety onto Rika-chan and tried to run. When I thought about it, I shouldn't have run back then. I should have asked her more about the dogs and the cats. The more I think back on it, I really screwed up. Anyway, I don't think Rika-chan was in the situation where she could just go off and play somewhere. Of course, I didn't have any evidence or conviction to base it on. It was just a hunch. I don't think she'd go into town.
You think so too, Keiichi-kun? I agree. Rika-chan and Satoko-chan must have disappeared in Hinamizawa.
I looked back at Reina, startled. I could hear the conviction in those words. Without replying to my gaze, she took her bento box and went into the hallway.
I'm gonna go rinse it out.
She timed that in a way that she broke off the conversation. Suddenly I got the feeling that the next thing she had to say would be hard to say aloud in the classroom. I hurriedly grabbed my bento box and followed her. Reina didn't go to the kitchenette, but rather to the water fountains out back, where the students seldom went. The water flowed down into our bento boxes. During that time, Reina didn't say a word. Then, after making sure there was no other students around, she finally opened her mouth to speak.
The whole thing about Rika-chan and Satoko going into town to play and then disappearing? It didn't make sense for some reason. So I decided to investigate a little bit myself.
Who did you ask? What did you ask them about?
I asked the Ladies' Society all kinds of things. There was a lot of tofu in the miso soup yesterday, remember? The old lady from the Tomita tofu shop came too.
The Tomita tofu shop? Oh, I remember. That was one of the stores in the road leading to the hospital. Those huge lumps of tofu dancing in the bathtub like Chris looked nice and refreshing.
The old lady says she remembers Satoko-chan stopping by to buy tofu there on the way home from school.
Tofu?
Well, it's on the way home, right?
How is that a clue?
Just listen. Do you remember when we went to Rika-chan's house?
Reina stopped away from the sinks and spread her arms wide to recreate the space of Rika-chan's room.
There was a pot on her gas cooker, and there was miso soup in it. I think there was probably about half of it inside. The rest was in the refrigerator. They must have been planning to make chilled tofu. It was on a plate in the plastic wrap.
As Reina explained, she walked around as if she were really going through Rika-chan's room.
Still,
Reina, what does that matter?
Keiichi-kun, when you make miso soup, you put in the tofu last. That means Rika-chan or Satoko-chan Whoever was cooking was standing there making it up until right before dinner time. Right up until dinner time.
Wasn't everyone saying that their bikes weren't around, so they must have gone somewhere to play by themselves?
The trash in the countertop bin was put in there really awkwardly, too. Rika-chan makes most of their food and lunches, but occasionally Satoko-chan does it too. So Satoko-chan was cooking last night. So that means that Satoko at least didn't go somewhere to play. She was preparing dinner. Yeah. Then I took a look at the rice cooker and there was rice in it for two, still in there. So she made dinner for both of them, but neither of them ate it? Is that it? Rina nodded. So next I looked in the fridge. There was some chilled tofu made for the other half of that they bought. But that's not all either. There were a whole bunch of plates and side dishes for dinner, and all of them in plastic wrap. Usually plastic wrap things so that they can have leftovers the next day. My mom does it all the time too, using them for breakfast or lunch. That's right. Use plastic wrap to save leftovers for later. So the fact that they were in the fridge means that they didn't plan on eating them eating them that night at least. Is that what it means? Keiichi-kun, think a little harder. Their dinner was totally untouched, wrapped up. What do you think that means?
Well, that means they didn't need to eat dinner anymore. So they would have gone out to eat or ordered takeout.
It must have been really sudden, too. If they had decided to go that beforehand, they wouldn't have made anything, but there was dinner for the two of them. That means that when Satoko-chan was making their dinner, they really thought they were going to eat it until right before they didn't. So then, the theory about the two of them going out to play and then disappearing is wrong. Yep. They disappeared after making dinner and right before they ate it. Probably around 7 o'clock.
Where would they have gone at a time like that by themselves without eating?
That's obviously where this is leading. Keiichi-kun, do you remember? On their fold-out table, there were things like soy sauce and a chopstick holder. There might have been something like that. I don't remember. The container for the soy sauce. It was empty. There wasn't even a drop in it. Chilled tofu wouldn't taste good without it. So I looked under their sink for the larger bottle of soy sauce they have.
You sure know a lot about where they keep stuff.
I've been to Rika-chan's house and cooked for them before. Reina cleared her throat and then her face returning to a serious expression. Then, when I opened the cabinet, the big bottle of soy sauce, it wasn't there at all.
It wasn't there? What does that mean? They went to go get soy sauce! They went... Okay.
Everything I'm going to say from here on is just Reina's idea. So please listen until the end without saying anything. Last night, Satoko was making dinner like normal. Rika-chan usually watched TV until the food was ready, so she was probably laying down watching a variety show or something. Satoko put the tofu in the miso soup, and right when dinner was about to be ready, she noticed that they were out of soy sauce. So Rika-chan, who had nothing to do, brought the big bottle of soy sauce to a neighbor's house to borrow theirs.
I don't really know my neighbors that well. Would people be willing to just give her soy sauce?
Yeah. It's not all that uncommon here in Hinamizawa. So Rika-chan rode her bike out to get some soy sauce. No matter how long Satoko-chan waited though, Rika-chan didn't come back. So then Satoko-chan called up the house where Rika-chan was going.
Would Rika happen to be imposing on you?
Something like that. The other person might have replied with something like this. We have plenty of food here, so you should just come too, Satoko-chan. Rika-chan's already eaten. I think that's how they called her out there.
Satoko called Rika a few times in private and wrapped up dinner she had made for them. She put it in the fridge so they could use it for breakfast or lunch the next day. Then Satoko got on her bike too, and headed for the house where Rika-chan was. Okay, but This is already pretty strange. You don't normally make so much food that you can give it to people who suddenly arrive at your house. A veteran housewife would never normally make so much food that she could feed 2 extra people. Could it have just been coincidence that they made too much?
It's still unthinkable.
Reina flatly denied me.
Since Rika-chan knew that Satoko-chan had worked really hard to make dinner for them, didn't she? No matter what kind of food she was offered, she wouldn't let Satoko-chan's dinner go to waste.
This was all only circumstantial evidence and Reina's guesswork. Even so, it was all extremely convincing. It was the only ray of hope we had to topple the situation before the clues. Then Reina, where did Rika-chan go to get the soy sauce? That was the heart of it. It would have had been somewhere she'd be comfortable with asking for soy sauce, and somewhere Satoko wouldn't think it suspicious that she'd been invited for dinner. So who was it? Reina slowly shook her head.
That's all for Reina's guesses. These are all just ideas, okay? Keep them a secret from the police.
What was there to hide? Even if only half of what you had to say was right, it would be a good clue for all of this.
Keiichi-kun, this all means suspecting someone from Hinamizawa. We can't suspect anyone without a really good reason.
I saw a few girls coming over to rinse out their bentos. Reina cut the conversation short there and returned to the classroom. I'd stay there alone with my body bathed in the lively voices of the cicadas. Let's think about this. In my own way. Reina had barely any information to go on, and yet she'd reasoned out that much. So there must be something that only I, who knew far more than Reina did, could decode. Oshi-san said this last night too, but this incident was definitely occurring within Hinamizawa. Reina might not have wanted to believe it, but it's basically a given that the culprit is someone in the village. The trigger for everything was when the 4 of us trespassed in the forbidden storehouse. Somebody saw us go in there. For the culprits, breaking the taboo was a crime punishable by death. So that night, Tomotaki-san and Takano-san were sacrificed. There were 2 left. Shion and myself. However, before the culprits bore their fangs on Shion and me, they went after the mayor, to whom Shion had confessed her sin. Next, they went for Rika-chan, to whom I'd confessed my sin. And what about Satoko? Just a stray bullet? By itself, Rika-chan being sacrificed after I told her everything was mortifying. But Satoko, who was sacrificed for no reason, wasn't that all more regrettable? Everything was my fault. Who would be next to disappear? Would it be Shion and me next? Why? Why aren't the culprits going for Shion and me right away, though? If they had enough power to erase the mayor and Rika-chan, then why not just get rid of Shion and me? If they went for us, well, I wouldn't like it, but I could still tolerate it. What I couldn't forgive was them getting rid of those who I'd confessed to. Now that I think of it, yesterday Shion said something alarming. She felt like someone was watching her. So then, was someone watching me as well? Strangely, though, I hadn't felt anything like that until now. Even though I'm at the root of cause of everything, I had never once had that impression. Maybe that was simply because Shion was more cautious than me and I was just careless. That's another story, though. Let's get back to the track. Why aren't the culprits going after Shion and me? I felt like that there's the key to this lay. Could it be... Was I making a big assumption that I shouldn't have been? I thought and I thought, but I couldn't come up with an answer. The one thing I understood was that I was concerned party in all this case, and I had a duty to watch over it until everything was resolved. I heard the ringing bell, declaring the end of lunch break. Would somebody else disappear tonight? If nobody else did, then I wanted them to get rid of me tonight for sure, and to put an end to all of this. Shion's hysterical voice on the phone last night came back to mind. They planned to murder those close to us first, make us miserable as possible, and then, and only then, would they kill us. My Barakun, lunch break is over. Go back to the classroom. At the principal's urging, I returned to the classroom, which was quiet as the streets at night. There were a lot of parents picking up their children after school. It was just like kindergarten. The students whose parents didn't come went home as a group. They left school with everyone else, following the assigned route. Even while leaving, nobody said anything funny. You know, I just thought of something. If they're leaving in groups, fuck the kid who's at the last of the line, right? Like, he has to walk everyone else home, and then he's just the last one. Like, what if he lives, like, a mile away from the last house? Like, are you serious? Fuck that kid. Like, the person was like, yeah, sorry, Timmy, you drew the short end of the stick. If anyone's getting murdered, it's gonna be you. Even while leaving, nobody said anything funny. They all looked exhausted as mountaineers silently marching through the mountains. As we went, one left and then another. And in the end, it was just Reina. Oh, okay. It's the big kids. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I was just picturing, like, one of the elementary ones being the last guy, being like, God damn it. I was supposed to escort Reina all the way to her house, but she declined. Will you be alright? It's not safe to go alone.
It would be just as dangerous for you to go home by yourself after bringing me back, Keiichi-kun. It's still light out anyway. I'll be okay.
I see. And be careful, okay?
Yeah. Huh? Isn't that a policeman?
Reina pointed towards my house. There was a car stopped in front of it. From out of that car came Oshi-san. He must have been waiting for my return to ambush me. Oshi-san started walking over wearing that annoying grin. Reina, you should go. If you get involved with him, you'll be here for hours.
But, what did the police want with you?
Reina's a good person. Even when I made a fuss over Rika-chan's disappearance, she never asked me why I did. She could have been suspecting me ever since then, but that would have been okay. Even so, she still hadn't asked me anything. She didn't try and pressure me into revealing the truth. I'm not the culprit.
I know that.
That said, I can't say that I'm totally uninvolved with the incident. Reina simply listened, smiling like she always did. Even though I had insinuated that I was related to the incident, she didn't look at me as though she were looking at something dirty. I'll tell you next time.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Get going, then. Reina gave me a slight bow and trotted away, leaving me, alone with Oshi-san, who walked over. Hello, hello! Welcome home, my Bara-san. Hello. It looks like your parents aren't here. My. I was in a bit of a spot. He came all the way to my house? I could only thank my good fortune that my parents were absent. Since neither of them were around at this hour, they probably would back late. I think Dad got called out on business. I don't think he'll be back until later. I see. Well, that's convenient, I suppose. We can do this without giving your parents any strange ideas. Oshi's pushed my back, prompting me to walk. It seemed like he wanted me to get into the car. Man, this would look like a kidnapping to anybody else. Holy shit. Are you trying to take me to the police station? I wasn't the culprit, but I was the cause of everything. It wouldn't be weird if you wanted to investigate me. That kind of gave me a resigned feeling. No, I just don't want to stand around talking. We can just talk in the car, that's all. Come on now, don't be shy. He opened up the back door and urged me inside. I got in. I wouldn't have felt very easy time getting out of it. If I said no, however, then this man might really handcuff me and take me away. I couldn't refuse. I could only accept in good grace. The inside of the car had been cooled too much by the air conditioner, and it was a really rusty smell coming from the filter, which must have been cleaned only rarely. Oh, is it too cold? I can turn the car off. He turned off the engine, and it suddenly became quiet, and the voices of the Higurashi, with all their cool loneliness, snuck inside. It sounded to me like the chorus of voices, lamenting my exorbitant punishment for having harbored such a foolish curiosity. For a few moments, while listening to those voices, I myself lamented the days that had been twisted and distorted since last night. Oshi-san, as if waiting for me to voluntarily begin talking, lit a cigarette and listened to the Higurashi. The silence became deafening, and I was the one who folded first. How's the investigation going? The investigation? Of what? There have been so many. What do you mean? All of them. Well, alright then. They're officially secret investigations, and we're under a media blackout, but I'll let you in on them. Then, shall we start from the first incident? The freak deaths of Tomotaki-san and Takano-san on the night of Watanagashi. On this one, embarrassingly enough, we haven't made any progress at all. First of all, Tomotaki-san. There were indications on his body that he was assaulted by a group of people, but we only have no explanation for him clawing out his own throat and dying. We suspected an overdose from a stimulant or something, but we can't detect anything. What about Takano-san? The same. We're in the dark. Autopsies for those who were burned to death are real tough. We believe she was doused in gasoline after she was strangled. That one falls under Gifu Prefecture's police department. They haven't been very cooperative, even though it happened in our territory. Oh, that's not really relevant, though. So the police don't know anything other than the fact that the victims died inexplicably. Nonetheless, the times when the incidents occurred have been generally placed right after the festival ended. It's a bit uncertain in Takano-san's case, but likely the prospect is that she was murdered at about the same time as Tomotaki-san was dumped in the mountains of the Gifu. Why would they bring a dead body all the way to the mountains? They should have just brought Tomotaki-san out there too. Oh my Bara-kun. Quite sharp you are, you know that? Of course, I do believe that there is something we need to be attentive of. There are a bunch of other suspicious things, but this is about all I can tell you at this point. How about the mayor? Has there been any clues? Having exhausted that topic, I changed subject. Otherwise, he might turn the conversation on me. We investigated his movements on the day he disappeared. We didn't find anything that could provide any clues, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The mayor, Kirichiro Kimiyoshi. Apparently, he was suffering from severe hemorrhoids. People who lived a long time here have an unusual amount of pride. So the mayor hadn't been telling anyone he was going through a proctologist at the certain university hospital in Shishibone. On the day he disappeared, he had an appointment for a checkup, so he went out first thing in the morning. Even I knew that big hospitals like university hospitals had a really long waiting time. Apparently, people would get in line hours beforehand, even if they had an appointment. His exam ended at about 1 p.m. After that, he ate a light meal in the hospital restaurant, passed the time reading a magazine. We know this because of a receipt we found in his wallet at his house. There was nothing suspicious at all about it. That day, he had planned to go to a meeting in the assembly hall in the evening. He was supposed to return home with plenty of time to spare, but while he was on the train coming back, there was an incident. Seems that it delayed it quite a bit, and he only got back to his house right before the meeting was scheduled to start. His family witnessed a very hectic mayor leaving to go to the assembly hall at the shrine. What was the meeting about? He disappeared on his way back home, right? The three families and the essential members of the town assembled were at the meeting. We think they were discussing how to deal with the serial freak death incidents that had happened again this year. So then, on his way home, the old man who had treated Shion like his own daughter. He was a dependable person who could encourage Shion whenever she felt pressured by anxiety, and yet Shion's painful voice struck me in my heart. Huh? What's the matter? I was taken aback by how strange my voice sounded. What was that? Just surprised me. I squeezed my head in my hands and tried to drag back out, but I had only realized for a split second. Remember, Keiichi Maibara, you just realized something. Something important. The night of Watanagashi. That was when everything started. That night, Takano-san and Tomotaki-san died. The next morning, word of the incident had spread throughout Hinamizawa. They planned to talk about it during the evening meeting. The mayor, however, had an appointment at the hospital, and as planned, he went there without telling his family. He got a checkup at the hospital. Oh, I just realized. Shon wouldn't have had time to talk to him. Holy shit. He ate something. Okay. And then there was an unexpected delay on his train ride back. When he returned, the meeting was already about to start. The mayor changed clothes, got on his bike, and hurried to the assembly hall at the shrine as fast as he could. From when he heard about the incident on the night of Watanagashi until when he showed up at the assembly hall, everything he was doing that day was done in secret. During that time, nobody found out. He went to the hospital alone. He ate alone. And he got on a train alone. That all meant he had absolutely no contact with anybody. He wouldn't even call him on the phone. Okay, but what does that mean, Keiichi Maibara? What does that matter, Keiichi Maibara? Kei-chan, what should I do? What's wrong? Tell me. We're not keeping secrets from each other, right? Old man Kimiyoshi, I told him everything. I told him everything. I told old man Kimiyoshi everything. That night, I told the mayor that we snuck into the ritual storehouse. Also that someone saw us and he was out to get us. Right. What then? Old man Kimiyoshi didn't get angry. He smiled and told me that I was probably sorry about it and there was no way I'd be demoned away. He was really smiling, and he told me to leave it to him. Sweat burst out of my body like bullets. They became one long strand and slid down on my forehead to my nose and fell. So then, what does it mean? Hey, Keiichi Maibara, no more playing dumb. When did she tell him? Shion said she had learned of the incident from the phone call her father had made that morning. The mayor had left the house first thing in the morning for his appointment at the hospital. He didn't tell anybody where he was going. Nobody knew about him going to the university hospital. Furthermore, his train ride back to the house was delayed by accident. As soon as he got home, he rushed out to the assembly hall. Then the meeting at the assembly hall began and continued until it was dark. Then everyone left. Nobody saw him after the meeting was over. He just disappeared. Which meant... Maibara-san? Are you alright? If you're too hot, I can turn the conditioner back on. Another part of me was messing with my thoughts, demanding that I may not think about it any further than that. My head was pounding violently, and the fluids packed inside it. It all blended together until nothing made sense. It was just about to settle, yet it had been smashed and melted in the blink of an eye, no longer able to retain its shape. Maibara-san? Are you there? Yeah. Oishi-san lit another cigarette. There was yet another cigarette butt placed in the ashtray. Was it displaying the passage of time? Had my thoughts been frozen over for that long? I've tried to tell you everything I know. In return, feel free to tell me anything you want, Maibara-san. My mind began a gigantic oozing mess. My brain felt like it had hardly been totally minced by the blades of a blender, and I couldn't think. Now, don't clam up again. If there are any misunderstandings, I'd like to clear them up first. I don't think you're the culprit or anything. Oishi-san gave his best attempts at an adult smile. I know the four of you snuck into that ritual storehouse that night. Everyone in the village heard rumors about it the next day. That in itself means we should take our time trespassing, but this isn't the problem. It's what's inside. What was inside that made the people who snuck in there end up as sacrifices? There wasn't anything. As soon as I said it, I regretted confirming my presence there, but I knew it didn't matter anymore. Was there really nothing in there? I mean, everyone who went is being sacrificed one by one, you know. Even the mayor and Rika-san, who had just switched the lock on the door, were sacrificed. What was inside that could have caused such terrible things to happen? I was far too tired of keeping quiet about this. Perhaps that was Oshi-san's goal all along, but again, that didn't matter anymore. There were just like a lot of torture devices and things that were used a long time ago. I looked around at them with everyone. Was that really all? That was really all. There was nothing terrible in there that would make you keep silent? Like a pile of, I don't know, psychoactive drugs? Maybe a secret poppy workshop? Perhaps there was mountains of Soviet or Chinese handguns? There wasn't anything suspicious, wooden boxes, containers, packages in there? There was nothing. As exaggerated as what Oshi-san was hoping for, but I felt like in a way there was probably plenty of terrible things hidden there. From the perspective of someone who had viewed the storehouse as scared, whether or not I thought I had been... Oh, sacred. Whether or not I thought I had seen some crazy things didn't matter in the slightest. The four of us broke the taboo. Punish us. That should have been what happened. We put in a request for a search warrant, thinking that there might be some hidden secrets in that storehouse. It's been a sabotage of the century. They said it would be an insult to religious figures or something about the right to free religion in the Constitution. Jeez. That's why I really didn't have any other recourse but to ask you since you went in there. There really was just old, rusty, dusty torture equipment. Nothing else stood out. Then Tomotaki-san and Takano-san were only killed as a punishment for having broken a taboo? I didn't have an answer for the only part. I suppose I won't be bother hiding it anymore. You're the only one who's escaped harm so far. Everyone but you has disappeared, and yet you alone are safe. What's the difference between you and them? What would protect you and bring harm to the others? That's what I want to know. There was something wrong with what Oshi-san was saying. You alone. You alone. What? Wait a second. What do you mean by you alone? I'm saying that you alone have been left alive, right? Out of the 4 people who tiptoed in that storehouse ritual implements. I mean, the only one left alive? Hold on. Shion was still... Jiro Tomotaki-san and Mion Takano-san died that night, and Shion Sonozaki disappeared the next day. Only you are still safe and sound at this point. Why only you? I'm saying that's what I want to know. Shion disappeared? That's impossible. I unintentionally raised my voice, but I didn't care about that. Tomotaki-san died. Takano-san died. And Shion disappeared? When did she disappear? What is this guy talking about? Oh, well now, I thought you were long since awareness. This is the first I've heard of it. Shion disappeared? When? Well, going back a bit, she disappeared the day after Watanagashi. Going back a bit? Stop saying stuff I don't understand. Shion Sonozaki spends the night at relatives' house, depending on her mood any given day, so no one thought it much knowing where she was. She frequently takes days off from school, too. Her teacher had been pretty troubled by it. I didn't ask about that. I'm asking you when she disappeared. And I told you it was the day after Watanagashi. The fluids in my body all reversed direction. I lost my sense of balance, and everything I could see started to wrap and twist out of shape. I simply couldn't endure it. Hang on. Shion had already disappeared? Then, that night, that call, the phone call, who was that? She called me every night. She encouraged me. We vowed that we would do our best to live on and not be erased. Yes, that should have been a phone call with Shion. It should have been a phone call with Shion. She took breaks from class like it was nothing, and her family wouldn't listen when I told them, so I didn't bother calling the school in the end. So it ended up taking quite a while before we realized she had disappeared. I felt a stabbing pain like needles were being pushed into every pore of my body. It started on my back and began spreading through the rest of me. Oh, hey, we fit. Sorry. What did you miss? Okay. Shit, what happened? In chapter 10, we started off remembering that at the end of chapter 9, we had called Shion, and Shion was like, oh my god, the mayor disappeared? That was because I told him what happened. And then Keiichi's like, wow, you stupid. Oh my god, I told Rika what happened. I gotta go make sure Rika's okay. So then we started looking, calling Rika. We couldn't get a hold of her. We didn't know where she lived, so we called Reina. And Reina was like, I know where she lives. Why do you need to see her at midnight? You know? And Keiichi's like, premonition? And Reina was like, oh, okay, bet. Let me go call Mion and we'll go meet up and go check on him. So then all three of them pedal over there on their bikes. Couldn't get in. All the doors locked. So then I was like, hey, the second story window should be open. And so Mion got a ladder for me. And I went up on the ladder. And Reina was like, okay, I'm going to go look for the keys. And she took off. And then I was like, damn, these windows are locked. And Mion had a mental breakdown. Told me how Satoko was a cursed child. And this was all her fault. And then she was being all crazy and shit. And almost threw me off the ladder. But then Reina came back with the adults, and they're like, hey, we found the keys. And then Mion was like, oh, sweet, nothing happened, right, Keiichi-chan? Right? And I was like, haha, you're scaring the shit out of me, Mion. And then we went into their house, saw that nothing was really weird or anything, but they were all missing. And Reina was like looking around in the kitchen, and Keiichi's like, why are you looking around in the kitchen? And she was like, haha, just checking, you know? And I was like, alright, weird, but whatever. And so then we all came out, and the adults were like, hey, is Riko and Satoko missing? And Mion was like, yeah, but we gotta go look for them. So they all split up and looked. And then we couldn't find him. And then, like, the next day, or whatever, we went to school, and all this shit, and then Reina was like, hey, the police think they're missing in the cities, and that's why they're gonna stop looking at Hinamizawa. And then Reina's like, but I think that's bullshit, and here's why. And then she gave us this theory about, like, how, like, when she looked through the kitchen, she noticed that they had made dinner, and then just wrapped it up. So she was like, hey, I think I know what happened. I bet they made dinner, realized they were out of soy sauce. Rika went to go get soy sauce at a friend's house. That friend said, and then kidnapped and killed Rika. And then Satoko called, and then that friend was like, hey, Rika's here eating dinner with us. Why don't you come too? Satoko was like, alright, bet. Wrapped up all the food and then left. And so now they're both missing. Serena's like, whoever's house they went to, that's probably where they are. They might be dead. And I'm like, shit, let's tell the cops. And then Reina's like, we can't do that. And I was like, why the fuck not? And then Reina's like, because that means someone in Hinamizawa has either kidnapped or killed them both, and they're both little girls, and that'll make them get in trouble. And I'm like, yeah, Reina, that's kind of the fucking point. We gotta get them in trouble so we can get our friends back, and hopefully they're alive. And Reina's like, I don't know, that's just my theory. A game theory. And then, so then I was like, alright, bet. And now we're talking to the cop, and he was all like, here, I'll tell you what I know, so you can tell me what you know. And then the cop has kind of let us know that Shion has been missing since Watanagashi, and so every night when we're on the phone, we have realized that whoever this is has been, one, lying to us about what they're saying, and two, lying about the fact that they're Shion. So who knows? Maybe we've been talking to Mion this whole time, and we haven't seen Mion all day, and there's also some bullshit in the tips about how, like, the leader of the Sonozaki family may or may not be dead, and all that other good stuff. And that's what you missed so far. And now we're currently having our own little mental breakdown because it's like, oh shit, we are now realizing that we have not been talking to Shion. So who the fuck knows what all Mion knows, or if that was Mion, or who's dead and who's alive. Yeah, that's where we're at. Thanks for coming to the TED Talk and the Higurashi recap. Okay. When I had completely covered the surface of my skin, it began to worm its way inside my stomach as well. Don't you remember? We talked at the library the day after Watanagashi. Shion-san was there. That was the last we saw of her. No one knows where she's been since. Quite a lot, thank you for looking. Yeah, I'm sorry. A lot did happen. Like, I did my best. I'm pretty sure those are all the important parts, though. That can't be. That day, Oshi-san had only caught me, and Shion bounded away, lying that she needed to go to work. It was a good recap. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Thank you. Didn't she call me that night? Her job was at the restaurant called Angel Mort, right? She hadn't been there since that day. She's been completely absent ever since. The person at the restaurant couldn't get in touch with her. He was really worried. That can't be. It can't be. It's only circumstantial evidence, but after she left us at the library, but before she made it to work, I think it's appropriate to consider her having disappeared during that time. Right after Shion ran away without me? It seems that you didn't know. Maybe if you had said something earlier, this would have gone more quickly. Now you understand, though, right? You're the only one left. You're the only survivor of the 4 who had slipped into the ritual storehouse. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. If something else happens, it would happen to you. I need you to understand that, my Bara-san. It can't be. It can't be. It can't be. Shion had already disappeared? That couldn't be. It couldn't be. I talked to her the day before yesterday. I talked to her last night. She was going to call me again today. That was Shion on the phone. Shion was on the phone. It was Shion. It was from Shion. From Shion. Shion had long since disappeared. Next will be you. Then, who was on the phone these past nights? Who was on the phone these last few nights? Who was on the phone these past nights? It can't be. Shit, this one is really intense. I lay down on the couch and stayed there dazed for a while. My mind was completely blank. I couldn't think about anything for more than a few seconds. There was a note in my house saying that Mom and Dad would be home late and I could have some ramen or something for dinner. I could make it whenever I got hungry, but I had no appetite, so I just stared blankly at the ceiling without eating anything. The hands on the clock were already pointing at 10. Would I get another phone call like yesterday? Or a call like that today? Even though Shion had disappeared? Would she still call me? Where were they calling from and who were they? The more I thought about it, the more I started to tremble. I even thought about just disconnecting the phone line. If I had been thinking a little less logically, I really would have done it too. Hold on now, Keiichi Maibara. Oshi-san admitted it itself, didn't he? That Shion went missing a lot? Couldn't she have just gone to some relatives and Oshi-san didn't know about it? Shion and I were both being targeted by somebody, so it wouldn't be strange to think she went somewhere she usually didn't in order to hide. That must have been why Oshi-san couldn't locate her, and why they labeled her as a disappearance. Yeah, that had to be it. Shion hadn't disappeared. Then, my right hand moved on its own volition and slapped me on the cheek. It's a cold sting that let me calm down a little. Don't just convince yourself of the most convenient possibility, Keiichi Maibara. I knew I didn't want to admit it that she had disappeared. Admitting it would mean that something terrifying would definitely happen. I just needed to figure out whether Shion was the one on the phone or not. Would I ask her if she was actually Shion? That seemed a little incredibly absurd thing to do. Still, don't run from this, Keiichi. If the person on the other end still believed that I thought she was Shion, then that would give away my tiny advantage. Casually, completely casually, I would listen to what she had to say and fend her off. I would tear the skin off the monster. It would definitely be really scary for me. However, as the last survivor of the people who went into the storehouse that night, this was my duty to perform. Still, then who? Who would call me and pretend to be Shion? I may have only heard her over the phone, but her voice wouldn't be that easy to replicate. That was definitely Shion's voice. It sounded just like her. It could have been only Shion. There was something, though, wasn't there? Someone who sounded just like her. Mion. Who else could have done this? At this point, seriously, after all this time, all those little things that didn't quite make sense about Mion until now overwhelmed my mind. Like being questioned about sneaking into the ritual storehouse and how she took the ladder while sprouting curses. Who else? Who else could have? Why though? Why would Mion? I thought back to the things about the Sonozaki family that I had heard from Oshi-san and Shion. Mion was already entangled in the incidents, in a position where she was omnipotent. Some of that information included things that Shion had told me after she disappeared. I madly scratched my head. Courage. Give me courage. just a little bit of courage to pick up the phone. I know it will ring tonight. It would be so easy to run away. That, though, would be the same as making it easy for them to erase me. I cannot run. I must stand up and face it. After all, the next sacrifice would definitely be me. I was sure Shion would use tricky words to try and trap me. Be careful. Be careful. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. At that point, it rang. The phone rang and I didn't know where the call was coming from. Shion had disappeared. Disappeared a long time ago. Disappeared the night after Watanagashi. Yet, until today, she had been calling me like nothing happened. Now again tonight. The people who had disappeared, their corpses simply haven't been found. I really didn't think they were alive. So, if it really was Shion on the other end, then did that mean she was calling from another world? Of course that couldn't be. A living being was calling me, pretending to be Shion. Shion was long gone, and yet, as though she were alive and well, the phone continued its incessant ringing. I didn't want to pick it up if I didn't have to. Yeah, phone be like bring bring. I had just concluded, though, that not doing so wouldn't solve anything. Then, what would I do after I answered it? Would I immediately declare that she wasn't Shion and ask who she was? Alternatively, would I pretend that I was still fooled and try to garb her in by the tail? That would probably be the safest thing to do. What I was most afraid of was the person on the phone would know that she realized I knew she wasn't Shion. However, as long as I continued to let her think I was fooled, she wouldn't do anything extreme, right? If I just make sure to be careful, that should be the safest option. I've made up my mind. I'll answer the phone. Once I do that, I'll talk to her as if nothing happened. That wasn't all I'd do this time, though. I'd scope her out. Who was she? What was she thinking? And what was she after? Why was she doing this? Was she really the one who killed Tomotaki-san and Takano-san? What happened in the mirror? What happened to Rika-chan and Satoko? I reached out for the receiver, my arm trembling. There were too many things I wanted to know and too many things I wanted to ask. I was scared. I should start by picking up the phone. Pick it up, Keiichi. Pick it up, Keiichi. Hello? Oh, how relieved I would have been if it hadn't been a call from Shion. Kei-chan? It's me. It's Shion. My momentary, convenient, and above all fleeting prediction was ripped into 1,000 pieces. I couldn't help but shake at this point. Get ready for this. You took a long time to pick up. I had thought you weren't home. I was about to hang up. Sorry. I was just in the bath. Did your family not pick up for you? Could your parents be out right now, Kei-chan? I failed. I let her in on a fatal piece of information that I was currently the only one in my house. Well, no, they're not really, away. Anyway, have you heard about Rika-chan and Satoko? No. What happened after that? Were they found? No, they weren't found. Kei-chan, please don't lose hope. If Oshi-san hadn't let me know, then I might be allowed myself to shed a tear or two at Shion's considerate words. Instead, now that it had come to this, I couldn't take her words at face value. This person on the other end of the receiver, the more perfect a Shion they were, the more my blood curled in fear. Rika-chan and Satoko. They were kidnapped, weren't they? Yes. I don't think there's much doubt. Just how cruel and grave the meaning that those words hold. Their weight astonished me, and then a moment later, I was overcome with a numbness, and I felt like I would pass out. I had asked if Rika-chan and Satoko had been kidnapped. Shion, intern had answered that there wasn't much doubt. That cruel meaning behind her words. Rika-chan and Satoko were... no, I'm sorry. About the mayor. What do you think happened after he was kidnapped? Do you think he's still alive? What happened to Rika-chan and Satoko after they were kidnapped? That's what I wanted to ask, but I frantically caught myself. What if she had given that question a terrifying response in such a way to sound like it had nothing to do with her? I was scared of that, so I immediately brought up the mayor. That said, however much I talked about the mayor, I think he was killed. Hey, wait, that was quick. I think I must have been really hard to kidnap someone and keep them alive like they were. As long as they're not hostages, it would be most practical to kill them once they're done with them. The world started to bend so much I almost lost my balance. The scenery in my eyes whirled around and around like hands of the clock, and I tried to swallow me whole from below. I frantically put my hand on the wall to support myself. A moment later, a severe nausea welled up in me. How was she saying such things so lightly? Kill them? So readily. What's a human life or two anyway? It's a horrible thing, but I think that's probably what happened. If the mayor was killed, then did that mean the same had happened to Rika-chan and Satoko? No, that couldn't. They weren't some random old man. It was Rika-chan. It was Satoko. They couldn't kill them so readily. It's probably better to think that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan ended up the same way. Those were the words I wanted to hear the least, and I fought them back with a scream of my own. Even though it wouldn't change anything, I couldn't help but scream. This time, the tears flowed. I'd been confronted with the most horrific outcome that I'd been trying to avoid considering ever since last night, and I cried. There was no longer any doubt that this was my fault. I killed them. I killed Rika-chan and Satoko. I succumbed to the weakness of my own heart and confessed everything to Rika-chan. That's why they were killed. That meant I killed them. When Rika-chan looked at me with those innocent eyes, if only I hadn't given in. Even my voice gave out, and yet still I cried. And cried. Kei-chan, please just try to calm down. Rika-chan and Satoko, they've been killed. We couldn't even find their remains. I would never be allowed to even apologize to their faces. If that was to be my punishment, then how brutal a punishment it was. I think Shion tried to comfort me, but I didn't hear any of it. What are you going to gain by doing that? They're definitely going to target you and me next. Please, I'm asking you, get a hold of yourself. Please. Please. Shion was shouting, imploring me with a voice that sounded like tears were in her eyes. However, I was coming to hate the sound of that voice more and more. This Shion killed them. I had no doubts that the person killed them. Why? 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 Why kidnap someone and then kill them? Screw curses. End people's lives. Are they really that cheap? Erasing them and killing them without a second thought like this. You're right. You're absolutely right. It would take a demon. I felt like crushing the receiver in my hand. How long did this person's plan on acting like someone else's problem? There was a magma in the pit of my stomach, and it felt like it was going to erupt at any moment. Hey, Shion, please tell me. Why did Hinamizawa start needing someone to die in the night of Watanagashi? That's what I'd like to know. The fighting over the dam project's already over and done with. Haven't enough people been cursed already? Why is it? Why? If there's a reason, then say it now. I was incoherent at this point. My emotions had broken through the dam inside me, rushing forth, and I couldn't stop them. These were not simple questions. This was not an interrogation. Shion herself hadn't realized yet. It was just too funny. It was so funny that I couldn't stop crying. I understand how you feel, Kei-chan, I really do. The damn wars ended a long time ago. Yet, murders and disappearances keep happening every year under the guise of a Yashiro-sama's curse. Why? Why is it happening? Some of them had nothing to do with this, and some of them didn't deserve to be cursed, so why? Why? That's what I'm asking you! I want to know as much as anyone. Both our ragged breaths could be heard over the phone. Listen. Oyashiro-sama's curse never existed. It's too unrealistic. Just like you said, someone in the village is using the grand name of Oyashiro-sama's curse as a justification for continuing these murders and disappearances every Watanagashi. They were cunning. They've been using the curse as a convenient tool and made a system where they would get rid of the 2 enemies in the village every year. And this year, that system killed Takano-san and Tomotaki-san. Then why wasn't that enough? Why did the mayor and Rika-chan and Satoko, why did they have to get killed too? Don't give a shit about the past. The only thing I care about is why Rika-chan and Satoko needed to be killed. Why is that? I didn't say a word to Satoko, you know. Why even her? Why? Aw, oh, damn, that song was really good. I was hoping it would keep going. A silence fell between us. Shion didn't answer for a while. Kei-chan, please, stop being mean. A sob. Was Shion crying? I don't have any idea what's going on either. Everything changed when we went into the ritual storehouse that night. It was the same for me. As I listened to Shion's bitter weeping, I could feel my agitation subsiding. When I heard that Takano-san and Tomotaki-san had been killed that night, I doubted my ears. Then I realized it instantly. I realized what sort of position I was in now. The 4 of us snuck in there. Kei-chan, you and I won't be so conveniently forgiven. When I thought about that, it made my chest so tight. It was so terrifying. You know that feeling, Kei-chan, don't you? There was nothing fake about her words. She'd even understood how I felt. That's why I confessed everything to Old Man Kimiyoshi. All of us entered the forbidden storehouse. It was just a bit of fun. We knew we shouldn't have done it, but it really was just for fun. It was only a bit of exploration, that is it. That's all. Takano-san and Tomotaki-san, who went in with us, were killed shortly after. They met such miserable ends. And since that day, I've been living in fear of when I would be attacked. There was nobody except Old Man Kimiyoshi who would help me. So I asked him to save me. Old Man Kimiyoshi, he wasn't mad. He smiled and said, "If you're really sorry, Shion-chan, then you'd never be demoned away." He really did. He smiled at me and told me to leave it to him. Shion cried bitterly, recalling the beloved mayor's death. It was such a sad voice that none who heard it could prevent it from twisting their hearts. Again, did I let my emotions take over and go off at her? Shion was in the same situation as me. She should have been my one and only comrade. My heart pounded. My other self, deep in my mind, whispered to me, "Don't forget, Keiichi Maibara. Don't forget about the mayor and the morning after Watanagashi." He was told of Takano-san and Tomotaki-san's death over the phone, committed to a meeting that evening. He went to a hospital appointment. He didn't tell his family. He only made it back just in time for the meeting. He went straight to the assembly hall. That's what Oshi-san said. When did you let the mayor know?
Huh?
I'm sorry, Shion. It must seem like I'm kicking you while you're down, but... Shion, you told him, right? You told old man Kimiyoshi the mayor?
Yeah.
When did you let him know? I began to get scared of saying it aloud after hearing her sad voice. I wasn't saying it in contradictory, though. Besides, if there was a contradiction, then I wanted Shion to explain it to me. Did you know that the mayor had a severe case of hemorrhoids and had gone to the hospital for treatment?
Kei-chan?
What does that have to... Please answer me. If you didn't know, then just say so. There's a moment of silence. Then, after stammering a few times, she replied, I knew that. He had hemorrhoids. It looked like sitting down was really hard for him. He was going to the hospital. You know which hospital, right? I'm sorry. I don't know that much, but... Kei-chan, what does that have to do with... Shion didn't know what hospital the mayor went to. That meant it was impossible for her to have gone all the way to the hospital and confess anything. Since she didn't know his destination, then she obviously couldn't have seen him on the train either. If there was any other chance for her to contact him, it would have been after he came to Hinamizawa. The train, however, had been delayed, and he only had got back right before the meeting was about to start. He didn't have the time. There wouldn't have been enough time for him to listen to Shion spill the beans. I want to ask you straight. Shion, when did you tell the mayor about everything? When and where? Your answer doesn't have to be precise, but please just give me one.
Kei-chan, what are you asking that for?
Her sob pierced my ears. I was taken by the illusion that I was bullying her. Even so, I'll say it. If I'm wrong, then please correct me. Please prove to me that you're real. Shion. It was impossible. The day the mayor disappeared, from dawn until he vanished, there was no opportunity for you to contact him.
That's...
The mayor left first thing in the morning for his examination at the university hospital, all by himself without telling anyone. Shion, you just said you don't know what hospital he went to, so you couldn't have contacted the mayor until he got back. Isn't that right? His train back was delayed by an accident, and he didn't return to the house until the meeting was about to start. So there was no time for you to have told him before the meeting started either. I heard Shion repeating her weak sobs. That sort of feminine voice automatically ripped into my heart. It was so painful for me to say it. Shion, did you go to the meeting too? Did you attend it and tell him there? If you didn't, then there wouldn't have been any time left. After the meeting was over, the mayor disappeared on his way home. Shion went to the meeting, didn't she? Did she or didn't she? The question was so simple to answer, but she didn't give an immediate response. Actually, with the meeting, You didn't even go to the part-time job you said you went to the other day. I'll say it more directly. You haven't been since we were at the library together.
Kei-chan,
Shion Sonozaki disappeared the day after Watanagashi. The other end fell silent as a grave. It was so quiet that it was like the phone cord had been cut. I couldn't sense anyone there. Oishi-san says you've been missing. Despite that, you've been calling me every night like this, haven't you? Shion's sobs were torturing me. Still, I'm pretty sure I haven't said anything wrong. Please, Shion. If something I said was wrong, please say so. Shion, I'm begging you. Shion, there's no way you could have seen the mayor, but if you did see him... If Shion did ever have the chance to meet with the mayor on that day, then that meant... Then you saw him after the meeting. In other words, it could have been right before he disappeared or else after. Holy shit. Oh, okay. Okay. Beep, beep, went the dial tone. I stood there dazed for a while until I realized she had hung up on me. Holy shit. Yo, what a cool way to reveal that. Oh my god. Some tips? Oh yeah, let's go check those out, huh? Just dying to know. Tough call. Demand the truth. Oh shit. New tips. More scrapbook pages, let's go. The problem with twins. This is not limited to just Hinamizawa, but in the Onikakushi village especially, the three families detested giving birth to twins as successors. The long-term dictatorship built on the precarious balance of the three families must have been feared collapsing under the weight of internal strife from things like family quarrels. According to the literature, if twins were born, they had to be culled. With that, the very fact that both the Sonozaki family successor, Mion Sonozaki, and her twin Shion are alive in itself deeply interesting. Perhaps the current leader Oryu is sympathetic? Of course, the twins were not cared for equally, and as the heir, Mion received special treatment. From what I have heard, despite the two of them looking exactly the same on the outside, the talent lies solely with Mion. My own observations of the two of them don't leave me with much of that impression. Tradition dictates that the leader of the Sonozaki family is said to inherit a demon, and they have a tattoo of a magnificent one onto their back. In accordance with the tradition, there's an extremely high possibility that Mion has such a tattoo on her back. From what I've heard, there is apparently a magnificent demon tattooed on Orio's back as well. Then, I wonder what sort of tattoo belongs to her heir, Mion. I really want to see her back. After the Suzu Mahjong parlor. Oh my god. Reserved for the day. Suzu Mahjong parlor. Clatter clack. Hey, Kuro-chan, you're the last one here. All the youngsters are here already. Excuse me, miss. Oshi handed over in a convenience store bag with a carton of cigarettes in it to an old lady who owned the Mahjong parlor, and she shoulders made herself scarce. She was used to this by now. Oh, those chairs look so comfy, though. Oshi-san, good work today. What were you all earnestly waiting for me? You couldn't have just gone a three-player. Everyone's sitting at the Mahjong table in a small parlor were Oshi's subordinates, but there were no tiles laid out anywhere. Everyone, I'd like to thank you for your days of investigation without sleep. Thank you. Energetic responses filled the parlor. Already, it had lost the atmosphere of a place of entertainment. The situation is not looking good. The chief appears to have been backed down due to a Congressman Sonozaki's threats. In the coming days, we'll hand off Takano's murder to the Gifu police and give the missing persons case of the disappearance of the mayor and the others to the community division. That damn upstart chief. The veterans in the room cursed him. All of our requests for warrants have been turned down as well. I've even been told by our section chief not to go anywhere near the Sonozaki house. We're certainly not in a bind, that we are. Incidentally, it looks like I'll be getting orders soon to go training at the Metropolitan Police Department starting next week. After that, I've even been told to make a paid vacation to Izu. Well, I suppose that ain't too bad. We heard a few dry laughs. It wasn't anything to laugh about, but That was all we could do. This always happens, but incidents are a lot like locking your keys in the car. The keys you need to unlock the door are always locked inside. For cars, you call JAF, and they'll pry open the door. For incidents, Kuma-chan, show me the map. Kumatani flipped over the whiteboard. On the back was a map of the Sonozaki premises, made with magnets. Now, I've been doing this job for a long time. I've got a lot of faith in my gut. This could only be the one time it was wrong, no? Anyone worried about their retirement money has until the count of 10 to get out of here. Oshi began to count to 10. Everyone counted along with him. It was their famous 10-count resolution. 9, 10. No one's leaving? None of you love your families too much, is that it? Ha 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 ha. Everyone laughed uproariously, cheering things up. I want everyone to go over their materials. Memorize the locations and blind spots of all the security cameras. Kuma-chan, you'll stand by in the command car. If something happens, you'll switch with me and take over. Komomiyama-kun, you'll head up to Infiltration Team A. Atoshi-kun, lead Team B. Observation teams will set up at points 1 through 8. Bonichi-kun, you're responsible for keeping the strict timetable. Control your rotations with HQ. Don't get wise. Now, the team on standby has the most important job, alright? If the section chief asks where I am, play dumb. I'll handle escorting our guest. I'll probably take him up to the venue, so wait patiently, everybody. Wonder if he'll cave. Keiichi Maibara, that is. From what I've seen, we're set up for tomorrow or the day after in that regard. It'll be easy. Oh, shit! Oh, shit. Read all the tips of Watanagashi. I think that's our signal. That the next chapter will be our last. My guys. Lamb chops. Holy shit. The last book, I felt like it would like build up, build up, build up. Oh, big action! Oh my god, the resolution! Yeah, yeah! Right? But this one, it was very much like build up, build up, build up, and some downtime, build up, and oh my god, everything's happening! You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, it just, this one was the slowest burn. Pachi, 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 yeah! Those were all of the tips we're gonna get. My prediction, I mean, it's kind of, I've seen the show, so I don't know if I can call it prediction, but based on that tip, I mean, we're pretty much certain, right? The police, because they couldn't get a warrant, and because the Sonozaki congressman threatened them, they're now just gonna bust in there. Because Oshi-san thinks that the people who are missing are in that residence somewhere. Like, they're being held prisoner by the Sonozakis. So he's gonna bust in there as soon as he gets Maibara to spill some beans, right? That's what I'm thinking. Based on that tip, anyway, that we just read. But, like, on the phone. Oh my god. The way they just started laughing. I fucking love that. Holy shit. But was that Mion? Or was it Shion? We just don't know yet. It's gonna be exciting to see. I'm so excited. Oh my god. The finale next time. Alright. But that's where we're gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I'm glad you're enjoying the story. Get hyped for the finale next time. Alright. I wish you all good evening. Or good night, lamb chops. If I don't see you in the finale, I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.